Hello, today I am doing a Trang Tries It series. It's been a while since I've been doing one of these videos, but today I'm doing an astrology reading, more in the Western astrology chart. And it's interesting because she's adding a bit of her psychic intuitive abilities and the Akashic Records reading intertwined with a Western astrology reading. This reading is very long because she goes through all the single houses and explains a bunch of things. So I put down a couple of timestamps down below, and I hope you enjoy.
So today we're going to be doing an Akashic astrology reading. We already have your chart pulled up, and it's very interesting. I can't wait to get into that. So in this reading, we're going to open up your records. And while I'm checking out your chart, talking to you about different things in your chart, the information from your Akashic records is going to help support a lot of that too. So in the process of me talking about all of the things that you have going on here, um, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask. This is more of a conversation than it is just me like spewing, because I really want you to understand your chart, how that works for you, and how it's not working for you now. That's basically what we're trying to accomplish here. And if you have a specific question, we will consult the Akashic records for that information if I can't find it in your chart.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open up your records and then we will get started. Part of this is out loud and part of it is silent, just so that you know. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God. Help me to know Trang in the light of the Akashic records, to see Trang through the eyes of the lords of the records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Trang have for her. The records are now open. It's interesting. When I was opening up your records, I saw right away lots and lots of mathematical equations. I don't know if you've ever seen the meme where the girl is like, and like the equations are just kind of floating around. It was kind of like that, but like the confusion part wasn't there. It was more of like um, quick computations. And so what this is telling me is that your brain really likes to, and your soul really likes to have things not just make sense, but you really enjoy the understanding of like exactly how things work, how they fit together, the reasoning behind them. Um, High level mathematics is very difficult to understand, yes, but a lot of times it's more of like a story than it is just a computation. And the astrology that we're going to be doing today is the mathematical equation of your personality, the one that you chose to have while you were here, and some of the things that you wanted to accomplish while you were here as well. So I think what your records are trying to say is that today's reading might be able to complete some of these unfinished equations that you might have in your head unconsciously anyway. So that's what I saw first. And it was very interesting. I really enjoyed that. Very, very on point for you. So the thing that I'm noticing first and foremost is this right here. This is a very intense stellium that you have. And a stellium is basically the house and sign that these planets are in. Because they're all together, it just amplifies it. So for you, this is Capricorn, and it is in the 11th house. So the 11th house is all about community, public image, being relatable to large groups of people. And this doesn't surprise me at all because you are someone who's very, very group focused in your businesses, all of your dealings that you have, very into the group experience over individual connections. When it comes to success. So because these are all in Capricorn, Capricorn is very knowledgeable on how to be successful, how to accomplish goals. The problem, though, sometimes with Capricorn is that they don't necessarily want to put themselves out on a limb and try something that they can't prove that they'll be able to finish or accomplish or succeed at before they even start. So in some ways, this is a great help. Whenever you're doing anything in a group setting, you are going to shine. And not just shine as far as like, oh, trying so noticeable. It's more of like support. It's more of like if if our group wants something to get done, we have to go to trying. There's no one else. There's absolutely no one else. Trying's the only one that can do this for us, and I know that. Like people who know you deeply, it's like that's where your money's at. That's your money piece, right? This is where your bread and butter's at. However, when it comes to doing things in the public eye that are a little outside of your comfort zone, you are going to hesitate times 1,000. This is going to be something that you probably mull over in your brain a bit too much. I wouldn't say to the point where you miss the train, because I don't think that that's ever possible to miss a train. But it might be putting pressure on you that feels really uncomfortable. And it's going to feel like you are going to miss the train, even though you're not. And this is going to add to that indecision over doing something that feels like you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. So when it comes to stepping outside of your comfort zone, you're going to need to figure out and learn how to support yourself. And that brings me to this over here. So we have the moon and Chiron in the 5th house in Cancer. So the moon being in Cancer is going to be an asset to supporting you when you allow it to happen. A Cancer moon is extremely empathic, extremely caring and nurturing. However, because you have so much here in the 11th house in Capricorn, you might actually decide that caring for yourself is going to take away from some successes that you might have in a group setting. So you might be making sacrifices with your own energy, time, and effort that are not necessary for the sake of completion, success, the image, maybe. There's also this feeling of fear of being messy. A little bit of, I have to have all of my T's crossed and all of my I's dotted before I even put one foot out the door. That's not always possible. Many times we do have to kind of let ourselves go out on a limb a little bit. But if you can make it so you don't have to do that, you will bend over backwards to do that. And unfortunately, in those moments, your Cancer moon is going to suffer. You're going to feel that emotionally within yourself. And your body, your person, might end up feeling a bit abandoned by you. Because we also have Chiron in the 5th house in Cancer, literally right on top of each other. 1 degree here, 2 degrees here. Literally right next to each other. Might as well be on the same degree. So Chiron is the wounded healer, which means that any gains that you make emotionally in your life in any way, shape, or form is going to come at a cost. The cost is pain of some kind, emotional pain. But when you overcome that, when you experience emotional pain, betrayal, discomfort of any kind, and you instead choose to support yourself, love yourself before others in any situation, Chiron is then supported and reinforces your Cancer moon. This is in the 5th house. So the fifth house is the deeper understanding of who you are. We're going to go a little bit more in depth into that later, but when you are embracing your Cancer moon, you are embracing the deepest truth about you. When you're allowing yourself to be honest about the pain of it, but continue to push forward, you're being as authentic as possible in those moments. Therefore, likely in alignment. This has a lot to do with alignment. These two things here. And these two areas of your life are really going to show up in many, many, many things that you do. I would say that these are probably the most dominant energy placements that I see in your chart. And this is something that Spirit is telling me through your records that this is one of the major lessons that you decided to do when you came here, was learn how to support yourself, choose yourself over the whole. It's almost like it feels like sometimes you're more than willing to lay on your sword for the group. Not all groups, because you're still Capricorn. But if the group is important to you, genuinely in your heart, with the Cancer moon, you have let them in. They're never getting out unless they do something really terrible. And because this Chiron is there, you're not going to want to face that many times. Maybe you'll be making excuses for them. Maybe you'll just be ignoring the situation altogether because it would be better for you not to notice it, because there's such a strong pull to be successful and physically supportive of groups that you find to be ultimately important to you. Now, of course, later in life, you will get better and better at this. This definitely would be something that in your early 20s, even late 20s, would have been way worse. You've been like everything I'm saying, like times 10. So with time, you're starting to learn how to work with your own energies and let certain things go, embrace other things based on some of the things that have happened in your life. So anytime that you experience something painfully emotional, it's going to be double so because that Chiron is there. But anytime that you experience that deep pain of emotion, you will always gain something on the other side. And if you look back in your life, you can see that that's true. So that is first and foremost, I would say the biggest thing that I saw about your chart. And I was like dying to talk about this earlier. I had to like really stop myself from talking about this when you shared your chart with me earlier. So do you have any questions about any of that that I've just explained?
No, that's all. Yeah, spot on. Even I think my friends, if I watch this, they'd be like, yep, especially with the Capricorn part. But it kind of does hurt a bit when you're saying like the pain you feel is gonna be double the pain.
Yep. And
Like,
because it's in the fifth house, you aren't, and because you're so Capricorn heavy in the 11th, you're not going to want to share it. You're not going to want to share that pain with anybody. You're going to want to make it seem like everything's fine when really your entire world is actually falling apart. There's a vulnerability there that Capricorn does not like to share. And so when it comes to close groups of friends, I'm talking about two. Two is a group to you. You're going to have a really hard time opening up that way. So even with, I would say this person that you would open up to about this would have to have proven themselves beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're safe to you in all scenarios for you to be able to even begin to talk about how painful something was. And forget if it was them that did it. Just totally forget it, because that's double the vulnerability level, right? So Capricorn always wants to insulate themselves. And you have 4 planets in that, which we'll get more into as I go around. But right off the bat, I feel as though these 2 placements hold the most polarity in your chart, and you're always getting pulled towards one or the other. One, this one right here being your public persona, right? This is how all people see you, not just social media, but groups of friends, family, other friends that you have, hobbies that you have, anything that you do where you're interacting with other people. This is how you want to seem like this, okay? Which is the opposite of this. This is opposite to this. So you don't want to seem like this at all. However, I think some people would be very shocked to find out how incredibly deeply emotional you are, how you feel things so, I wouldn't say well. I don't think you feel them well. I think you feel things completely against your will, 100%. And then you end up having judgment for it, and you're desperately trying to find a way out of it. But when you start to embrace that emotionality and especially the pain that is associated with that, when you really embrace that, you will be free of every issue that holds you back, every attachment, every difficulty that makes you hesitate. Everything about Capricorn that is a problem for you would be completely solved if you fully and completely embrace this part of your chart. But that's asking a lot. So it's going to take you some time to do that. So the first house I noticed the other day, and this is so interesting to me, because technically you have 3 signs in the first house, which doesn't hold, like, I want you to understand, most of the things I'm going to talk about are so minor compared to those first 2 things that I was talking about. So just everything else, you kind of see these things as more a smaller, more smaller or supportive energy to these other major themes that you're going through. Now, the only thing about the first house that holds weight for me is the fact that your north node is there. I see it now. Okay. So your north node is in Pisces in your first house. However, your rising sign is Aquarius. So this is your rising sign, and this is your north node. These 2 signs oppose each other a little bit. The Aquarian side of you, the way that you want to show yourself to new people, right? When somebody meets you for the first time, you're most comfortable shining through as an Aquarius. A little different, very knowledgeable, willing to have strange conversations. Like, small talk, I feel like might be a little uncomfortable for you, especially with brand new people. You might tend not to want to do that. But if somebody were to meet you for the first time and jump right into this incredibly interesting philosophical conversation about the universe, like, you would be there in a heartbeat. You're like, this is my kind of person, right? And then after you get to know the person, some of the other things in your chart will take over. But initially, you would much rather dive deep in with people right away rather than, like, do we have to talk about the weather today? Do we have to talk about traffic? I mean, yeah, it sucks, but it always sucks. That's kind of boring. You'll do it because it's polite, but you're more gravitated towards somebody who's willing to have a little bit of a strange initial conversation with you that's outside of the norm. So the first energy of your first house wants to be weird, outside the box, different, logical. And that logical nature is also supported by this intense Capricorn thing you have going on over here. So these 2 are kind of feeding into each other. However, I would say that your Aquarian energy doesn't like how restrictive your Capricorn stellium is, because the Capricorn stellium isn't going to want you to initiate that strange conversation, but you're going to want to do that. But here we are again, stepping outside of our comfort zone in a group setting. We don't do that, right? So something that might be a better approach for you is to prepare some things that you would like to use as icebreakers, which you probably already have done, that are interesting enough for you to talk about, but not too weird that people are looking at you sideways. Then we have, in the same house, Pisces, North Node. Sort of sandwiched between your Aquarius rising and the beginning of your second house in Aries. This poor little Pisces doesn't have a chance. So Pisces does not want to be logical, doesn't really want to play it safe, but is fine doing that. The little tiny bit of Aries that you have here, probably maybe 1 degree or 2, is sort of like a tiny little bug in your brain that says, just do it, just do it, just do it. So I think sometimes when you're speaking to people initially, this little tiny piece of Aries might actually win, because this piece of Aries is going to gang up with your Aquarius energy that's stronger, and sort of maybe not silence your Pisces, but definitely make it quiet compared. So the Pisces energy in this first house wants you to be more dreamy. When you are being seen for the first time, I think you would like it if people thought you were a little bit mysterious or regal, or I wouldn't say fancy in some way, but um, maybe a little bit of a fantasy in a way, something a little bit less logical. You would hope that people maybe sometimes would see you that way. But you don't want to do what you need to do to make that happen. You just want it to happen not naturally. But I do see that sometimes that does happen when you allow it to happen. When you don't lean into the logical nature of this Aquarius sign here, then Pisces has a chance to shine as the daydreamer. So you might be inclined to share some of your daydreams with new people, just because it's interesting. And in those ways, your Pisces and your Aquarius do work together. Since the North Node is here in the first house, this means that your calling in this lifetime, using every other part of your chart, is to be authentic to you, choosing yourself first, putting yourself first, thinking of yourself first over others. And like I said before, because we have so much going on here in the 11th house, which is the house of community, this makes your North Node even harder. So what might end up happening for you is you will have these really beautiful sort of daydreams about how life could be if you were able to completely rule your own life and you didn't have to be held by any rules of society or anything restrictive. If in a perfect world kind of thought process here. And this is your North Node. This is what you're meant to be doing. But then logic comes in and says, oh, Trang, that's silly. Stop trying to daydream about things that aren't real. You can never have that. But your Pisces North Node is like, can't I though? I think I can. I think I can rule my own life. I can be the main character of my own life, right? And so there's this desire to be the main character, but these other very dominant placements, your rising sign, this stellium in the 11th house, and even your moon with Chiron are all going to team up against you and say, Trang, that's not very nice. It's not very nice of you to have main character energy. You should really be thinking about others first. And people in your life are going to underline that for you, underpin that. Especially earlier in life, this is going to be extremely hard. But you are meant to live your life for yourself. It's right here, your North Node. This is where you're supposed to go. You're supposed to live this for yourself first. This is why you're so into traveling by yourself and entrepreneurialism and all of those kinds of things. This is your North Node. Do it for yourself, make it for yourself, but not in a way of grinding like Capricorn wants you to think, but in a way of ease and flow that Pisces understands is true. So there's a lot of areas in your chart already. We barely scratched the surface here. that I see so much pressure to be logical and practical when your North Node is literally the antithesis to that. Your North Node is like, no, no, girl, we need to daydream more. We need to be thinking about the fantasy way more. Because the thing is that because your moon is in Cancer in the 5th house, especially with Chiron there, the emotional barometer that you have towards your desires, towards your alignment is so strong. It's stronger than anything in your chart when you allow it. But because those other parts are just as strong, you become confused. And then you default into, well, this is reality. I might as well face reality. But when you allow yourself to daydream and it works out, it becomes more solidified for you. However, if you allow yourself to daydream and it doesn't work out, you also use that as a way of proving it's not real. So you have to be really careful about what your mind is trying to do. You are meant to be way more in tune with your emotions. And I see that these two things are in an early degree. So they're not going to be comfortable for you because they're a newer energy in your soul's journey. It's going to feel like you kind of don't even know how to be emotional, really. Like, is this how I do emotions? I don't know. You know, and you do try. But again, like I said, a lot of that is against your will until it's not, right? And that's, I think, what Spirit's trying to get you to move towards. Any questions that you have about this first house?
No, I think the we were talking about the Aquarius and because I know that at least for rising sign, that's kind of like people's first impression of you.
Mhm.
And it's very I feel like they see that free-spirited version, I guess, when I talk about travel or just doing random things.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, really spot on, but good to know about all the other stuff.
Yeah, and that North Node is going to be difficult, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. It's just hard because you've gotten yourself into a groove with everything else, right? So Pisces kind of lives a little bit like completely in flow, almost completely in flow. I feel like if you had a bunch of Pisces in your chart, you would have a hard time keeping a schedule. You would have a hard time remembering to get back to people. You would pretty much just be living your life as it comes to you rather than creating it. And that's why you don't have a lot of Pisces in your chart because like it literally doesn't even, your Pisces doesn't even represent a house. Like you don't have a house in Pisces. It's just like a little piece of your first house um, because you're not meant to do it that way. What you're meant to do is you're meant to have these daydreams, have these um, aspirations for yourself, and then ground them into reality, create them, make them actually happen. And I see that's why you have so much Capricorn in your chart, because it's trying to support this North Node. Your North Node does not know how to take the daydream and make it a reality. It just knows that it needs to do that. So the more that you allow yourself to daydream and think about uh, what your future feels like, looks like, could be like, and allow yourself to dream really big, which I feel like that's something that you're afraid of. It's one of those other uncomfortable things that in your life where you're like, oh, that's actually going a little bit out too much out on a limb. That's a little bit too vulnerable for me because if I let myself daydream about something like that, I might become attached to it. And your North Node is like, yeah, yeah, you will do that. Like, do that. Because the thing is that once your Capricorn energy becomes attached to something, and you know this very well, you can't let go. It's like you're locked in forever until something catastrophic happens. And that's why you hesitate to daydream. That's why you hesitate to really allow yourself to go as far as possible in your mind, in your fantasy, with your imagination, any of this. This is also highly intuitive, Pisces is highly intuitive. The fact that your North Node is in Pisces in the first house, this tells me that you are someone who, when you're really embodying your truth, you allow yourself to let the daydream take you away, but you can always find your way back. You don't get lost. And that's what you're afraid of. That's what Spirit's telling me from your Akashic records, is that you're so afraid of getting lost, swept up in the dream and never being able to find your way back. But you know exactly how to do that. You have to get lost in the dream first, though. If you don't allow yourself to get lost, you're never going to find the gems that are there. The pieces of your life that are going to truly make you happy and satisfied come from allowing your mind to really just go wherever it wants to go when you do it, when you sit down to do it. Or when it happens to you. Sometimes it'll happen to you. Maybe you'll meet a new person and they get your brain being like, oh, wow, I could do that too. And it just like immediately wants to run off into left field and go all the way out into this daydream of possibility. Right? But then Aquarius is like, let's stay here. Let's be in this present moment. Especially the Capricorn is really not going to let you go all the way out that way. And when these two work together, everything makes sense. But at times they will be at odds, depending on what it is, especially when it comes to your career, especially when it comes to your career. This is an area where you really don't want to let yourself run away too far. But this is an area where it would be most helpful for you to do that. This is also an area where if you could daydream about like literally who you, not just who you are, but who you want to be. And I feel like sometimes you might be maybe concerned about changing yourself too much too fast. How is that going to look to the group? Am I going to look too weird? Am I going to look like I'm trying too hard? Am I going to look like I'm fake? It won't, because this is your authenticity. Your authenticity is to do that, or at least contemplate it. I would also say that surrounding yourself with dreamy things would help promote this North Node for you. Okay. Second house. Your second house is the house of values, the house where you make your money, your regular money. And it's in Aries, and there ain't no planets in there. Thank God, because you already got enough going on. You definitely don't need anything there. However, when it comes to what you value, when it comes to how you make money, and it's interesting because like I've already seen this in you. Like, why can't we do it now? Why can't we do it right now? Now is good, right? Now is good. So if somebody were to say something, especially to a group of friends that was very important to you, that was against your values, you would be very quick to take action on that. Maybe not necessarily speak on it, but you would definitely be really fast to see it. Like, oh, I didn't miss that. I got your number now. I know exactly who you are. Whereas others might miss it. And then later on, you're like, hey, you know that guy that came around and he said that thing? That wasn't okay, right? You know that, right? Like, you're not asking for validation. You're telling. You're saying, no, that wasn't okay. Just so you know, that wasn't okay. Because I don't know that you know that. Right? And so this is where your sense of values are. You're quick to take that action, very honest, sometimes maybe blunt when it comes to that stuff. And I feel like at times you may think that you're right above everyone. And again, that might not necessarily be something that you communicate, but excuse me, it is something that you will express. We also have Mars in the second house. Okay, so we do have planets in the second house, but just not in Aries. This is in Taurus. So Mars, it kind of doubles down on that desire to take action, but it's not in Aries, it's in Taurus. And Taurus is like, "Nah, I'll do it later. I'll do it a little bit later." So I think sometimes these two energies feel like you're having a war inside of your head about starting something, about mm, creating something, taking action on something. You definitely want to take action immediately, but Taurus likes to be more methodical than that, more thought out than that. Um, is it important for me to take action right now? I feel like Taurus also, they pick their battles a lot of times. Is this that important? Initially, your Aries is going to want to do it because it's anything to do with your values, anything to do with making money. Let's do it right now. But then your Mars comes in and says, well, I think we should wait. I think we should think about it. I think we should come up with a plan and make sure that we have enough rest in there. So when it comes to taking action at all on anything, because your Mars is in Taurus in the 0 degree, you are going to have a tough time finding motivation sometimes. You're going to have seasons of motivation where it feels like you're hot. The iron's hot. Let's do it now. Let's hurry up. Let's do it. And that's going to be supported by this Aries energy in your second house. But then there's going to be times where it's like you're burnt out. The cup is empty. You're going to want to continue because of that Aries energy in the second house on certain things. But, and especially when it comes to career, when it comes to actually making money, you will have a tendency of pushing yourself too hard, too fast, and you're susceptible to burnout. Again, this is another energy that probably was way worse in your 20s. But as time goes, you're starting to recognize, like, okay, I do need to rest a little bit. I mean, some of the things that have happened to you this year, even, are trying to prove that to you. Rest is very important for your Mars sign and for your second house. Your second house is how your finances are, your personal finances. So full steam ahead all the time is not going to work for you. If anything, it's actually going to work against you. And it's going to make certain things not work out. And you're going to be confused. You're going to say, why didn't that work out? I was trying really hard. I worked really hard. And the Taurus side of that Mars is going to say, yeah, exactly. That's not good for us. We can't do it that way. So when you need to rest, you have to allow yourself to really lean into that rest, because the more you lean into that rest, the faster you're going to be able to bounce back and be ready to work. The longer you put off the rest, the farther you're stretching that rubber band. And eventually it's just going to snap back, and it's going to happen at a time that you don't want it to. And that could show up as illness, temporary illness. It could show up as weird things happening where you're trying to get something accomplished, and no matter what you do, like, it's just not happening. Maybe you're supposed to show up for something important, and then all of a sudden there's crazy traffic. There was a crazy accident that happened, and you just simply can't get there. Really strange, off the wall things. This is what your Akashic Records is telling me. That's what happens with this Mars sign in your life when you don't listen to it. So giving yourself plenty of rest. The other thing that I would watch out for as well with Taurus in Mars is impulsive buying. Might have been or might be a little bit of an issue for you, and not in the way of like, oh, let me buy myself a Rolex. It's more of like, oh my God, that blanket looks so comfy and warm and I need it. Do you? Do you need it though? Like, oh, I could really use a coffee right now. I'm just gonna go and get one at Starbucks or whatever. But you could probably be fine with the one at home, right? You don't need that every day. Once in a while is fine, and you should listen to that and not be guilty about getting yourself those things, but be mindful that it's not happening too much, because Taurus is very manipulative and will try to convince you that you need that blanket when in fact you don't. Um, and you could probably rely on that Aries energy to help pull you out of that. When you start thinking about your values, when you start thinking about what's really important to you, Aries will be honest and say, Taurus, we don't need that right now. Put it on the list and we'll probably get it later, maybe. So this is what happens in your second house. And many times when you go to start something, it may not start off beautifully, smoothly, because this Mars sign is in the 0 degree. So starting things in a Taurus way isn't going to be very comfortable for you. You'd much rather start it in an Aries way. Like, hurry up and do it now. But Taurus wants you to sit back and say, okay, let's reflect for just a minute. Do we have everything that we need? Is there anything else that we need to do this, to start this well? And did we pencil in breaks and rest? Because that's important too. We can't just willy-nilly start this without knowing when we're going to be able to have our rest. The other thing that Taurus does is a lot of times it wants to get all of the hard part out first so that it has rest at the end. So let's say you had 30 hours to get something done. You're really going to try to get that done in that first 10 hours so you have the next 20 to rest. That's exactly what you're going to want to do. In this case, Taurus definitely tends to burn out. So be honest with yourself about what really is feasible, but make sure that you're allotting for that rest. Anything in the second house that you have questions on?
No, but kind of explains I feel like my chart's a lot of like conflicting stuff in my head where I'm like, part of me wants to do this, part of me wants to do that.
Yeah.
And yes, you're very spot on like wanting to get the work done first. Because I like to just get all the work done and then take a nice long vacation.
Yes, yes. So anything that you can do job wise, right? This is going to be where you shine as an employee. So any job that you're doing for someone else. And this could be contract work too. When you're thinking about clients that you want to work with, when you're thinking about employers that you want to work for, you're going to want to do something that allows for that rest to happen, which is probably why you do the work that you do now, where you have time in between. You do a lot of work and then you kind of have some time to rest. And then you do a lot of work and then you have some time to rest. But that Aries energy is going to trick you sometimes into thinking, oh, we need to hurry up and do it, especially if you are having trouble financially. If you're watching that bank account starting to dip, that Aries is going to be like, oh no, we should do something. Oh no, we should do something. Oh no, we should do something. And Taurus is going to be like, no, we need to be more strategic than that. Let's think about it. Right. And that's where you have the war. One part of your brain is like, let's quick do something, anything. So almost like panicked. And then your Taurus energy is going to say, no, we need to think about this. We need to be smarter than that. But again, like I said, because it's in that 0 degree, you're really going to be confused as to how to accomplish that, like how to move forward. Like, you know that that's what you should be doing, but like, I just don't know what to do to get that to happen. And that in those ways, you have to trust the universe. You have to, again, it's like relying on this emotional piece here to help you determine what is for you and what's not for you. In the second house, you want somebody that's not going to restrict you too much, but you do want somebody that's going to make sure that you're not going overboard, right? Like, oh, we don't need that blanket, but like the blanket really isn't going to kill us if I get it and it's going to bring me joy. You want a partner that's like, go get the blanket. It's fine. Get the blanket. But if you're like, well, I want a new car, your partner's gonna be like, no, we're not going to do that. So that's what you're wanting. You're wanting somebody that's going to be able to hear you out and compromise when it comes to the things that you want to spend your money on, the things that you want to, even the things that you want to do as a business, right? Your desire to create abundance for yourself on your own terms. That's here in the second house too, because if you're with somebody that says, oh, you need to get a job, that's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. You can't have that person, right? So that's what we see here. You also need somebody that's going to be able to tell and support you when you're holding something back, when you're feeling difficulty in explaining your emotions. You need somebody that's going to come to you and be like, Trang, something's bothering you. Let's have a conversation about that. And not just like be frustrated at you with it, but be nurturing and open to say, okay, the energy is off. Honey, what's happening? You also need somebody for this fourth house that's not going to be a stick in the mud. If you want to travel for 6 months, they have to be okay with that. That has to happen, right? So wherever your house is, it's not going to be traditional. So you can't be with somebody that wants tradition in those ways. You need somebody that's not necessarily trying to do that themselves, but definitely not somebody that's going to hinder you. You need somebody that's strong of will because, like I said, your fourth house is in Gemini. That's a tornado. Your home life is always going to be up, like up in upheaval in some way. Maybe it's small ways, maybe it's big ways. You're used to this on some level, but you have to have somebody that's going to have that strong will and not blame you for things that happen, even though other people could say, oh, well, that was just Trang. It isn't. These things are not your fault. This is just how your life is. So you need to have somebody that's going to be able to weather that. So again, these two houses are telling me, and this here, you need somebody that's uh, emotionally mature. You need somebody that's going to be strong-willed, but not to the point where they're so stubborn that they're not giving in. You need somebody that's not just willing to experience the chaos and joy with you in this fourth house, but want that. You need somebody that's going to want spontaneity and lots of talking, and then no talking at all. And then maybe gossiping, maybe doing things on a whim. Like they have to not just be okay with it, they have to want that, right? So you need that type of partner. And then here in the seventh house, this tells us how they're coming to you. This has nothing to do with the partnership themselves. This is how they come in. And that person is going to find you. They're going to see you because you're attractive. And this placement here is going to keep you from just accepting any old trash. Because there's going to be plenty of people that see you and want all of this, but not be capable of actually engaging in the ways that you need to be engaging in. And so this placement helps you understand who is worthy and who isn't. And since your Venus is in Capricorn here, you definitely need somebody that's trustworthy. You cannot have somebody that's unstable in any way, emotionally, mentally, or physically. They have to stay. They have to be honest. They have to be loyal. If this person makes you question them at all, done, blocked, never again, right? This is your partner. It's not one placement. It's literally everything. So saying all of that, right? In your mind, you could be like, that person probably doesn't exist. I disagree. There's plenty of those people. There's many of those people. You just haven't come across those people yet. Why? Because like I had mentioned to you before, you're in a transition right now, going from one way of handling your life into another. And your chart shows that. A lot of these placements that are at war with each other, you're finally finding that balance with everything. You're finally really stepping into all of these things, but more importantly, you're starting to knock at the door of this placement here. Whereas before you'd be like, I don't know what this girl's talking about. That doesn't resonate at all. And now you're like, well, I guess I could see that. I should try. I should try it and see. And that's where you're at now. So whoever is able to live up to all of this that you have here, they get to have this as well. Not only are you deeply emotional and able to offer a deep sense of empathy, support, love, compassion, but in such a healing way. Whoever your partner is on an emotional level, you will be healing each other. So it's going to be wonderful and horrible at times, but fully worthwhile and something that you both will need to fight for at times. Not always, but at times. But that's true of any relationship. When you have two people coming together that are completely different, you're going to have differences that you have to fight for eventually. Okay, so third house, this is the house of communication, how we speak, how we're heard. This is in Taurus as well. And you also have Jupiter here. So Jupiter in the third is going to make, it's expanding that. So with Taurus, Taurus is, like I said, more methodical, strategic. Taurus is nurturing, supportive, non-judgmental outwardly. And wanting to provide safety, to feel more open. It's almost like you're really good at saying the right thing to get somebody to open up to you. You're really good at getting someone else to share a vulnerability. You yourself, not so much, but you can get somebody else to say what needs to be said. And because of that North Node, first house, Pisces energy of high intuition, this is supported in your third house when you are helping someone, when you are doing something, grief counseling. Right here, I see it in your third house. Very good at it. And that could be all different kinds of things. Doesn't necessarily mean a human being passing or a loved one passing. This could even grow into when people experience betrayal, when people are having difficulty in their own experience with themselves. Grief really touches many areas of our lives in ways that we don't know, as I'm sure you know. And the way that you speak is in a way that helps people feel so safe, so supported and nurtured that I'm sure that maybe this isn't necessarily as obvious to you, but I think other people would say, I don't really know why I'm saying this to you right now, but blah, 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 blah. And this is why, right? It's not just how you speak, it's communication of all kinds. So that could be energetic as well. Simply just being in someone else's presence might be enough to get them to open up to you. And because Jupiter is there, and it's in a late degree, you know how to expand this. So once the door is opened with someone, you know how to pull on that thread to really get them to say everything that needs to be said so that they can be brought to completion of that release or that healing or whatever else it is that you feel needs to be accomplished because you have that, again, that Pisces first house, high intuition. It's like you know when somebody needs to talk. You may not always want to do that though. I think sometimes people feel attracted to you and want to talk to you. So this might actually lead to a little bit of introversion in certain ways, maybe not necessarily going out in the public as often. And of course that Capricorn stellium would also contribute to that as well as this. Once you're out in the public, you're fine, you're good, you know how to handle everyone. I would even say that this is a great placement for diffusing conversations. Not necessarily being a mediator, but I would say if you, excuse me, if you were a mediator, you'd be very good at it. Very, very, very good at it. So you probably do this with family or friends, maybe even work situations. I wouldn't say that you would come off necessarily as charismatic in your communication, but I don't think that that's necessarily what you're trying to accomplish, not on a soul level. You're trying to help people understand that you are caring and nurturing. And guess what? You need that because you have so much damn Capricorn that people wouldn't know that you're so caring and genuinely loving if you didn't have this placement. I think this is a perfect placement for a lot of the other things that I'm seeing here. So when it comes to your communication, highly recommend for you to really embrace that, trust that you know what to say. And I think for the most part you do, but if you're ever questioning, "Ooh, did I say the right thing?" or should I say something here? I feel like I should. Don't question it. Go with your intuition, go with your gut, because the communication is there. Anything with the third house. Oh, you also have a little bit of Gemini here, which helps you speak more openly than maybe you would with this placement. But like I said, just because it's just such a little bit, it's simply just supportive.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. So, especially when I didn't even notice, but like when talking to people, I guess I'm curious, so I always ask them lots of questions,
Mhm.
and I guess they open up. So
Yeah,
that's good
it's
to know.
yes, and the direction in which you're curious, the place that you naturally want to take the conversation helps other people feel supported and seen. Because you're curious, their reaction is, "Oh, she must think I'm interesting if she's asking me so many questions," right? And that helps people feel seen in all scenarios, but especially like you shine the most when somebody really is going through something to, and I mean, you've even told me of some of these scenarios where you have friends that are going through something and they feel better after having talked to you. This is why. This right here is why that happens. Um, okay, so now in the fourth house, we actually don't have any planets. And the fourth house is home. And it's interesting because it's in Gemini. So this is going to be your childhood home, your immediate family, siblings, everything to do with that. Not just your past, but present as well. This actually might make some sense in some things that happen with you. So since this is in Gemini, Gemini is, I'll say in a very lovingly way, scattered. Gemini is a little bit all over the place, well intentioned. I believe that most times Gemini is well intentioned unless they are not taking care of themselves. So when you are not taking care of yourself, that's going to show negatively in your home life, especially. And it's going to come out as possibly being manipulative of family members, anybody that you live with currently, not necessarily purposefully, but in the name of stability in some way, shape, or form, whether it's physical stability, a roof over your head, food to eat, emotional stability, a close relationship that you have, or mental stability if you think that you're about to lose somebody that's important to you. Your natural inclination might be to convince them not to do whatever it is that they're about to do or to do something that would be best for the relationship. Now, when you are taking care of yourself, this is used in a way that's meant to promote these relationships, not strong arm anyone, not force anything to happen, but to present pathways or options for your relationship or for your home life. So, as a child, very, very, very young, you would have been very expressive. I would say you probably were speaking very young, maybe even a little younger than most children start speaking, and probably didn't stop. It's interesting because some of the things in your chart make me feel like you wouldn't really want to talk to people a lot, that you might be a little bit more introverted. And when you feel introverted, as soon as you get home, you are blabbing, talking, chatting, all kinds of things. It's like all that energy that you bottled up came out as soon as you stepped in the door. So for instance, if you went to school and you were a little shy with the kids, as soon as you would get home, you're like telling your mom everything, but you didn't say a word in school. So that's sort of how that would manifest. And even now at home, um, Gemini also uh, enjoys a little bit of chaos. Maybe enjoy is a little bit too strong. Sometimes they enjoy it, sometimes they just attract it. So when it comes to your home life, with Gemini, you might be transient. You might be somebody who doesn't always have a stable roof over your head. I feel like if you were to buy a home, you would have to know that you had other options available to you because being anchored in one place, I don't think would be very comfortable for you. Maybe later in life, but definitely not now. Um, and this is why you feel so called to travel long term, is this placement right here. You feel most comfortable when your home is like anywhere, really. Um, I feel like this, it's a possibility that this placement might make finding a relationship that would be satisfying for you, a little bit difficult in your mind, but not in real life, not in actuality. This placement would make you feel like I'm a lot at home. I am a lot. So I need to find somebody that's going to be able to take a lot because that's how I feel I am when I'm comfortable, right? But again, that's not true. Gemini is extremely fun, very imaginative, very funny. And so anybody that you would consider home to you, and this could even, because you're so transient, this could be a person, a relationship could feel like home to you, right? Your idea of home is going to be a little different than most people. Um, Committing to one place is going to be very hard for you. So later in life, when you feel like you can't travel as much, you're not going to be satisfied with just one home. So preparing for that and letting your North Node daydream about that is going to be very helpful for you because this is your truth. This is what you really want. Having a base, but not having it be so permanent is the best option for you. Now, where this is uncomfortable for you is when you maybe sometimes when you stay in a place a little bit too long because your Capricorn energy likes to have that safety and stability. But the fourth house being in Gemini, sorry, it's not going to happen. So if you stay in a place for too long, you get ejected somehow. And that's when panic sets in because with Capricorn, you're like, nope, I'm digging my heels in. I'm staying here. Everything's going to be fine this way. But the Gemini energy wants you to learn how to create on the fly. Your home life is stable when you enjoy the chaos, when you enjoy the tornado, when you enjoy the adventure of it. Honestly, with this placement, once you have yourself in a place where you are truly living your life for yourself, I think anybody would be lucky to have you consider them to be home because you bring so much light and life and joy to living. Like your partner would never feel bored. And I think that that's a huge gift that hopefully makes you pickier. That you're not willing to just give that gift to anybody because it is a gem. Especially with a lot of these other placements that I'm seeing. Your third house, the way that you speak to people, like I'm telling you, whoever your future partner is, they're one lucky person because they're going to get something really amazing. These first four houses are really you're shining bright, and it's amazing. So, what do you think about that fourth house? Resonating?
Oh, yeah. That makes the part where you said it having a home that's transient or having a base, wanting to have a base, but not, it's like you want to have a base, but I want to also be able to travel a lot in long term. Makes a lot of sense. When you said chaos, I was like, oh no, I think my Capricorn's just like, no, we don't want chaos.
Yes,
But
100%.
I guess it's maybe more, it sounds like it's more of like, I want something new. Kind of, you don't
Mm.
want to eat the same meal and you kind of want something like fresh, um,
Exactly.
a change
Living
of
in a
things.
home, like the idea of a 30-year mortgage, that's a death sentence.
Yeah, it makes
Ugh.
sense why I haven't wanted to own a home and stay
Mhm.
committed for it.
Yeah,
I mean, financially, that's a lot, but also just the thought of it.
right. The mentality, the actuality of living that. I'm going to tell you this right now. Your Pisces North Node wants no parts of that. Like when you daydream, you're not daydreaming about a white picket fence and a house for 30 years with, 2.5 children and a pet and two cars and that. No, that's not your dream at all. If anything, it's almost the opposite of that. Almost, not completely, but almost is. Um, and I feel like in many ways you would see that type of dream as a trap. And so
Yes.
there's a lot of ways that you help other people to see that about themselves. That's not true of everybody. Some people really do want to have that, you know, how do you say that? Like leave it to beaver kind of home life. Um,
Traditional home
yeah, the
life.
traditional American home. But there's a lot of people who don't want that, and they feel such guilt and shame around it. And here you are living it, like you're literally doing it. And you're a shining example of that says, this isn't just okay, it's possible and real. And so by you putting that out into the world, sharing that with people, even if it's just one-on-one, but we know how you feel about your 11th house. You're going to want to share that, excuse me, with a lot of people. And because your Taurus third house is so good at being able to be supportive and mediating, you're not just mediating arguments, you're mediating things within people. So you're saying, I am different, Aquarius rising. There's nothing wrong with that. It's wonderful, it's beautiful. This is how I do it. And if you feel like you can't do it, I am literally here, living, breathing example of why that's an absolute lie. The financial piece happens. I feel like there is a little bit of a struggle financially for you, which I can see. I will get into that a little bit later. Because you're meant to live this lifestyle and figure it out, not practically, but in an aligned, true to desire way. And so everything that has happened to now has been you trying to force yourself, parts of yourself, into that mold of this is the way society tells me that I have to do this. That's that practical Capricorn sign. I know what success means because somebody wrote a book about it and that's it. But your Pisces North Node says, no, no, no. We're not going to do anything like anybody else does. We're going to do it our way. If it happens to align with the way that other people do it, then fine, whatever. But that's has nothing to do with anything. And so learning how to go with the chaos while still being grounded is the challenge, right? And I feel like you're getting there. Your spirit guides are telling me that I know it doesn't seem like this, but the hardest part is actually over. It's the acceptance of trying to do this is the hard part, especially for you with all the Capricorn that you have. But in your mind, that wasn't the hard part. The hard part is like trying to figure it out. There's nothing for you to figure out. With this Gemini in your fourth house, you're meant to go with the flow. You're meant to feel into your flow and allow that to be your truth, your compass, your barometer. And that's what carries you forward. That's why when you're on vacation, everything seems to work out so much easier for you because you're so embodying that Gemini energy of going with the flow. I'm in a tornado, but I put myself here on purpose. This is what I wanted. So when chaos happens when you're traveling, okay, you just handle it. But when you're home and you have to start working again, you're thinking about your finances, it's like all of that kind of gets thrown out the window. So Spirit is telling me that you really do need to try to find that bridge between living the chaos and implementing that practically. And what practical means is going to be different to you than other people. Practicality for a Capricorn is whatever you want it to be. They just get caught up in the seductiveness of other people's success, proven success. It's all bullshit. Doesn't mean anything. The only proven success that you need to worry about is the ones that you have done and proven to yourself. That's all that is true. That's all that matters. All right. Next, we are going into this fifth house with this insane thing here. It's really not that bad, to be honest. Having a Cancer moon means that you cry a lot. This is how you process. When you don't allow yourself to cry, because Capricorn does not like to cry. They're a robot. I don't cry. I don't feel anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But your Cancer moon is like, oh, yes, we do. And we're going to cry right now. And like I said, this is a lot of times this is against your will because your will is so focused on being put together, being stable. You're missing that embracing your moon sign is stable for you. It's in the 5th house. So the 5th house is like the 1st house, but it's like at a deeper level. This is the vulnerable aspect of who you really are. And of course, your moon is there. This is not, to me, this isn't that bad of a placement, although I think you would disagree with me completely. Because your moon sign is here, everything that is important to you on a deep level is going to be emotional. No ifs, ands, or buts. There's going to be an emotional attachment there that once that happens, because the emotional piece of you is so uncomfortable and something that you haven't fully explored yet, you don't want that to occur. You don't trust it yet. You don't see it as being safe. So allowing something into that vulnerable space within your heart takes a lot, especially a person. You mean to tell me you want me to be vulnerable with you right now and I don't know you from Pete? That's laughable. Never going to happen. Never. But once somebody becomes important to you, I feel like even sometimes that happens accidentally, and that's even worse. When someone accidentally becomes important to you, you're like, uh-oh, now what do I do? Because you're sort of emotionally tied to them in a way that the practical side of you doesn't know how to deal with or handle. And so sometimes what you might do is shut down or dissociate sometimes from people like that, or situations with those people in particular that create pain. With Chiron there, like I said, these situations are meant to be more painful. And the reason that they're more painful, yes, because Chiron is there, but a third reason is that because this is in your 5th house, it's more deeply emotional to you. It's more deeply important to you on some level. So the pain that you experience from betrayal is unmatched. I will tell you that, unmatched completely. So that might keep you from really becoming attached or truly trusting or being vulnerable with another person in any capacity. This is also why you prefer the group. You can get lost in the group. You can still shine in the group, but the group insulates you. It makes it so that you don't have to be so personally attached or associated with one person. You're just one face in the group. And if somebody tries to become more close to you, you can kind of start pulling away from them a little bit and go to someone else. Kind of bounce around a little bit within the group, right? Because that's what's safer. And Capricorn likes that because you're using your time wisely. You're making success for the whole group. Everyone in the group likes trying, right? Because you've spent time with everybody, getting just to the point of vulnerability, but not there. So when it comes to things that hurt you, things that make you feel vulnerable, this is a place where you really have to kind of push yourself. So your 4th house and your 5th house are both in Gemini, but the signs are in Cancer. So I feel like you would want to talk about things, excuse me, that are deeply important to you, or things that are a deeper expression of you, right? So like um, your love of traveling, right? You want to talk about that all the time. This is such a deeply important thing to you, but it's not as vulnerable, right? You're not really like spilling your guts about this, but it is still that important. And so uh, Gemini also doesn't really like to get that personal either. They don't really like to share the vulnerabilities. And so with the 4th house and the 5th house being in signs where you have trouble sharing your vulnerable heart, you have to be careful about your most important relationships, because those people might feel less connected to you and not understand why. They might feel sometimes emotionally abandoned, and not understand what they've done because they haven't done anything. It has nothing to do with them, really. It's about your willingness to do something uncomfortable that could potentially hurt you deeply. Because with that Chiron there, with your moon, you know that if somebody hurts you, it's going to feel like death. So letting somebody to that level is very difficult. At the same time, you really want to do it though. You want somebody to be worthy of that, right? And so this is why it's important for you to allow yourself to really daydream, think outside of the box about what is important to you, what you really want, and a little bit of trust in the universe and within yourself. I see that sometimes it's very difficult for you to trust yourself in many ways because when you don't embrace your emotions completely, you don't just make people that are important to you feel abandoned, you make yourself feel abandoned by you. Oh, I felt this painful thing and I just ran away from it instead of facing it and supporting myself. You have Taurus in the third house with Jupiter there. Like, you know exactly how to support yourself. It just means that if you're going to do that, you have to face the music. And that takes a lot of strength and will to do. And from what I see in your records, this is something that you are actively trying to do. You're actively trying to do it. The frustrating thing for you, though, is that you quite literally don't know what you're doing. You feel like every time that you try to accomplish this, it blows up in your face, and then that makes you retreat and not want to do it. So when those things happen, they happen for a reason. Because this is what you're trying to do. You're trying to be there for yourself emotionally. So when anything you do blows up in your face, the universe is saying, Trang, this is a terrible situation. Are you going to be there for yourself? Are you going to emotionally support yourself through this experience? Or are you going to run away? You're going to disconnect. What's the choice you're making now? Right? And so sometimes it'll feel like these things keep happening to you where you are feeling like disconnected or too emotional, kind of feeling a little out of control that way. These are happening for you to help you learn how to do it. The only way that you're going to learn how to do this is by being thrown right into the pit with it. And so because you have decided that this is what you want to do, that you do want to embrace this part of you, which is a very powerful and incredible part of you, because you have the moon in the fifth house, this also supports deep intuition as well through your emotions. So you won't be able to tap into that part of your intuition until you really embrace your emotions in every capacity. Cancer is the most emotional intelligent sign, moon sign. Cancers understand emotions to a degree that other signs don't. So when you show up for yourself, the wound of Chiron won't feel as painful. That aspect of this will flip from being an amplifier of pain to an amplifier of healing. And that's what Spirit's trying to help you do now. By embracing how you feel about things, by sitting with your emotions, even though they're uncomfortable. And of course, there's a time and a place. They're not asking you to just bawl your eyes out when you're in the middle of work. But later, when you go home, go ahead and have a good cry about it. Every time that you do that and you allow yourself to cry as much as you need to, you always feel better afterwards, right? In some way, there's a little bit of relief. This is meant to support that and for Spirit to show you this is a very, very, very powerful placement for you. But it doesn't come without its challenges. So if you could use your Capricorn stellium, the desire for success, the desire to not give up, to continue until it's finished, and apply that to this moon and Chiron placement that you have in the fifth house, you will know yourself more deeply and more powerfully than most people ever will have a chance to. And that's powerful. That's you could do anything, right? Pisces says to you, Let's daydream more. Let's dream big because we can do anything. We can create anything. Your moon and Chiron in the fifth house is there to literally support that and help that happen in real life. That is your bridge. So the more you run away from it, the harder time you're going to have. But again, they're telling me you're not running away from that anymore. Maybe you're like wincing a little bit like that. But that's okay because it's a learning process, right? It's sort of like when you're getting, like I saw this video of this boy that was getting shots. He was so cute. Um, he was so terrified. He's like watching the needle come towards his arm and he is like shaking like a leaf and he's like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then, um, the doctor was like, oh, well, just look away. It'll be easier. He's like, no, I have to look. It's my thing. So he's watching it. And as the needle goes towards his arm, he starts screaming. The needle goes in and he goes, oh, that wasn't that bad. Maybe I'm okay with shots now. And this came to me because I feel like that's a very over-exaggerated sort of metaphor for this placement in your chart. But the importance of that, you're going to be afraid of these emotional experiences. But already at this point, what your spirit guides are telling me is that you are at a place where you're so much better at this than you are giving yourself credit for. And it's time for you to really look at that and analyze that. And they also are mentioning keep up with the meditation. It is helping. So anything about this fifth house for you?
No.
Okay, great. And then we have the sixth house, which is the last personal house. So the sixth house is service and well-being, how we are of service to others and ourselves, how we show up for well-being, how we are caring for ourselves in our jobs. This is in Cancer. So it's very interesting. These first few houses, you see how they all kind of are like joining together to help support the last and the one in front as well. So your moon being in Cancer in the fifth house is there to help you support yourself in the sixth house when it comes to being of service, when it comes to your own sense of wellness, the wellness of others, right? And this is why it's also important for you to embrace your emotional side, your deeply emotional side, because it is going to help you in the ways of healing yourself, taking care of yourself, and knowing what that is, knowing very deeply and strongly what that looks like for you. This thing right here is an asteroid. I don't really know what it is. The asteroids aren't as important as the planets. They don't hold as much power. So we're not going to worry too much about that. Actually, I think this might be part of fortune, maybe. But again, it's a minor thing. Anyway, so in the sixth house in Cancer, this is where you are meant to nurture yourself and others. And I believe at times you do struggle to nurture yourself in certain ways, but you are very good at it when it comes to the bigger picture, making sure that you're traveling, putting those things in place for yourself to revive or revitalize your mental and emotional health through doing those travelings and working for yourself rather than just being an employee of a company, right? These are ways in which you are very good at being a warrior for your healing, for your well-being, being service to yourself in these ways. However, I do see that when it comes to the specifics, meaning like a little bit more day to day, sometimes that goes by the wayside. And so Spirit really wants you to be more mindful of how you're taking care of yourself in each day as well as you do with the bigger picture. This helps you support others as well. When you know how to heal yourself, when you know how to provide well-being for yourself, then you will know more deeply and more confidently how to share that with others. So times in your life where you have been through something very difficult, painful even, and recovered from that, those are areas that you feel very confident in helping other people with, very confident in providing service in different ways. So the service that you provide for others is always going to be more emotional, more emotionally based because of the way that this sixth house is. You also have Leo here, a lot of Leo actually. And so when you are caring for yourself, when you're worried about your own well-being and you're not overdoing it with service to others or anything else, you shine so brightly. You are like a movie star, as they say, right? So it's very important for you to take care of yourself and to make those things a priority, but especially your emotional health. Your emotional health is very, very high on the list of priority here for you. Even sometimes over um, your physical health, it looks like. Because a lot of times your physical health will have issues if your emotional health is out of whack. If you've been anxious for a long period of time, let's say you've been like really anxious for weeks over something, you're going to feel that physically somehow. Even if it's just large bouts of fatigue where you just feel like you can't do anything, right? I guess we would call that depression, but in a physical sense, right? The symptoms are going to happen physically for you. Your mental health also is a contributing factor there, but your mental health is a symptom of your emotional health. Because your mind works so well. It's like you know what you're doing. You know how to get shit done. We have Capricorn, we have Aquarius, and we have the second house Aries. You're not confused about what you need to be doing most of the time. When your emotions are out of whack, your brain is out of whack, your body's out of whack, right? And that's what the sixth house is trying to help you understand. The more you lean into emotional well-being, and I'm sure that you've already seen that happen in your life, especially in the last few years, everything else starts working out too. So there has to be again, a focus on well-being emotionally, and you don't want to overstretch yourself with service to the point where you feel like a little icky about the exchange, right? So let's say somebody is sort of utilizing you for your services. It even could be a friend. Maybe a friend calls you up for advice all the time, but then when you call the friend up, they're like always busy, or they're they're not very good at holding space for you for that same type of advice coming back. You're not going to feel very good about that emotionally. And if you continue with that person, which I don't think you do that now, but probably when you were younger, that is going to show up physically for you and mentally as well. So whenever that stuff happens, I would look to your emotions first. Like if you ever experience anything in the physical, like, oh, how am I doing emotionally? Like, have I been like suppressing something? Have I been sidestepping something? Have I been avoiding something? Yeah. So that's your sixth house. Any questions on that one?
And now,
Yeah, these ones seem a little pretty straightforward, especially compared to the other ones. So now we come to the seventh house. This is the first house of your life outside of just you. And this is the house of relationships. Your south node is here. And the south node represents something that your soul knows how to do phenomenally well. This is like easy peasy, don't even gotta try. Sometimes you're so good at it that you go back around to defaulting into it. And sometimes that will be a detriment to the whole project. I'll give you some examples in a moment. So the seventh house is in Leo. So when it comes to partnerships, you're going to be very attractive. Whenever you suggest to partner up with somebody, they're going to be really quick to want to do that with you. It's going to be uh, very, very attractive. Whatever the offer is, whatever it is that you're wanting to enter in with them. So when it comes to relationships, romantic relationships, having the seventh house in Leo is, you need to be picky. You need to be really picky. You need to be careful of what you settle for, um, even in friendships as well, which I think that you have gotten very good at that, for the most part. But still, some people are persuasive. But so are you. With that Leo in the seventh house, you're very, very persuasive. And that's why a lot of these things are attractive, um, for other people. Sometimes people even like seeking you out when you weren't even considering them at all. Not just romantically, but like business wise and like friendship wise, even like hobbies and things like that. Like you're so attractive that with Leo in the seventh house, you really don't have to try to find partnership. I think sometimes when you try to find it, like when you are actively like, oh, what should I do? What action steps should I take to get these partnerships, especially when it comes to business? You actually end up like kind of shooting past the goal, essentially. And then you get confused and maybe disheartened sometimes. And then you kind of like take a step back and then, oh, bam, there it is. Because that's literally where it was. Like you taking a step back in defeat was like right on the money. So um, this requires a lot more trust in your energy of attractiveness, in your ability to be enticing in certain ways. Um, you are noticeable in business, in personal life, in all ways, with relationships. Now, the problem with having Leo in the seventh house is that there will be misunderstandings. 100% there will be misunderstandings. People will think that you want to be queen bee when I don't think you do. I don't think you really want that. Um, I think you're a good leader. I mean, you're a Leo in the seventh house, very good leader, very good at leading the beginning stages of a connection or an opportunity or a partnership. Um, and it's possible that some of these partnerships will rely on that, and that is a misunderstanding. They shouldn't do that. And you have to create boundaries for that stuff. And you have to speak up for yourself about not always having to take charge. Maybe you were able to set things up in the beginning, but over time, this should be more equal, which is more indicative of a Leo. Leos are picky, though. Leos know what they want. They know what they deserve, and they won't settle, right? So this also in your mind could make finding a romantic partner more difficult. Finding friendships, finding business opportunities, I feel like is very easy for you. But when it comes to finding romance, it's a little off. And that is because of that. um, the emotional piece of it is still strange to you, right? Too vulnerable. So you haven't figured out how to be attractive and emotionally available in the ways that are healthy for you and safe for you with another person. But that will come with time, 100%, and not too much time, is what they're telling me. You're very close to figuring that out. The other aspect of the seventh house is that you have your south node here. It's not in Leo, it's in Virgo. So having the south node in Virgo in the seventh house does clash with that Leo energy. This is also why sometimes you second guess yourself, because Virgo is very good at being observant. Virgo is very good at seeing the patterns of things. So you know who to trust and who not to trust in your partnerships. You need to rely on that. You need to trust yourself with that. But sometimes you think you're being too judgmental. And sometimes other people tell you that you're being too judgmental. The only people that are going to say that are people that are trying to take advantage of you. But the thing is like you do know that, but you still question it because that's Virgo. like hello, you know what's happening. Like trust it, right? And so sometimes you might have to talk to somebody to get like a grounded perspective, and you know who to talk to get that, right? So usually that's what you'll do. That's fine. That's perfect. Do that. But be wary of relying too much on what a third party says about what's happening. You really have to take what anybody says with a grain of salt. The thing that Virgo tends to um, get hemmed up on a lot of times is the perfection in the details. So you might be a little overly picky sometimes, right? With Leo, you're discerning already. But sometimes you might be focused on smaller annoyances that literally are just a conversation for that to be resolved. But instead of having that conversation, you might just be like thinking about it too much in your head before you say anything, and you've blown it up to a degree that is now impossible to speak about, at least to that person. Um, so sometimes you have to take that step back and maybe even take a break, I think, sometimes from people, even though you may not want to, because Leo and Virgo like feeling secure in their relationships. They want people to validate their existence in the relationship sometimes. There's a lot of things in your chart that don't like the fact that you need to have that. You want to be more independent than that. But this is not something that's weak at all. This is something that actually helps other people feel connected to you. When you're reaching out to them and saying, hey, are we good? That helps them feel like, oh, this relationship actually is important to her. Okay, cool. Okay, good. So in these ways, you have to be careful of how the way in which you desire perfection within yourself. The other thing about Virgo is that they're willing to let the other person be messy as hell, but in their head, complaining about it all the time. So sometimes your partnerships could be like that. So being able to have conversations, being able to be vulnerable with these people is very, very important. But understanding that you do know what you want, and that you shouldn't be settling for anything less than that. But be mindful of when you're being overly picky. Yeah. Any questions about that house? I feel like there's something else there and I just can't put my finger on it.
Um, no, I just never thought of it as when you're like, you're attractive. And I'm guessing I'm seeing more energetically, but I think the other parts of my chart, I'm like, no, I'm trying to stay behind the scenes.
Yeah, but that I feel like that's what the Virgo aspect is like, I don't want you to see me before I see you. Mm-mm. So when somebody approaches you off guard, like catches you off guard like that, like, oh, Trang, look at you, honey. You're like, who are you? You know, and you may not mean to do that actually, right? So in this way, I feel like sometimes you might come off as like, I don't want to say stuck up, but I think that's how other people would see that because that's not what you're doing. You're just like, you came out of left field. Like, I need some warm up. Like, can you make noise as you're coming around the corner? Like, so I know you're coming around. Like, you just showed up out of nowhere, and that is crazy to me, right? So, there definitely has to be warm up with you, 100%. They have to be somebody who proves themselves to be trustworthy because you have both Leo and Virgo in this house. Both of those energies have to be satisfied. Someone has to be treating you like your royalty, especially if it's a romantic relationship. Oh, buddy, you better know what you have right now. Just like I said about that fourth house, I'm not kidding. You are a magical gem. And when somebody comes around genuinely recognizing that of you, almost worshiping the ground that you walk on, you don't want somebody to do that because that's weird, right? Like you're not like, oh, don't be that crazy. Because that's that Virgo aspect of like, oh, I'm not worthy of that. But the Leo is like, oh, I kind of am though. I kind of am and I like it, right? So you have to like there's a balance to be had between those two energies. The South Node is going to want to pull you towards Virgo, being critical of yourself, saying, oh, I'm not that attractive. I disagree. I just disagree. On many fronts, you are very attractive to all partnerships. Okay. And the Virgo is going to get you to say that you're imperfect all the time and probably have many, many thoughts about that, especially when you're first entering into certain partnerships. You're going to second guess yourself. You're going to obsess over the smallest thing that happened. Let's say, for instance, you go on a first date and you call the person a different name, or you can't remember the person's name because you're having a day and you're like, oh shoot, I can't remember this person's name, this is horrible, and you can't think about anything but that the entire date, and you're begging, you're hoping, you're saying, universe, please God, let this person say their name so that I know it, right? And you're missing the date though, because your mind is so distracted on some small detail, and this person probably doesn't even care about that, but you've made it such a big problem in your head that that's the only thing that you can see. So the South Node knows how to be perfect in a partnership. Leo does not want that. Leo says, I already am perfect just by default, right? So these two energies can be friends when they both lighten up a little bit. And just like I said before, this fifth house moon is supporting that or making it worse, depending on what side of that journey you're on. It feels to me right now you're more in the middle of that journey, finding your way to the other side. And that could be why maybe you're not finding as many partnerships as you may want at this time, because you're in that transition phase. It might feel a little bit like a dry spell in a way, but I wouldn't consider this to be a dry spell. It feels more like you're hard at work, and it's like you're renovating the house. We're not going to live in the house while we're renovating it. We're going to wait to move back in. And that's kind of what I see happening. But as the house gets renovated, you're going to be able to move back into certain rooms slowly over time. When we're talking about Leo, especially Leo, there's an attractiveness to Leo that just is simply true, no matter what. Like, and I'm talking about like rolling out of bed, going to the store in your pajamas, looking like crap. You haven't taken a shower for a few days. There's going to be a whole handful of people that are like, hello. And you're just going to be like, oh, snow, don't notice me. Right? And this is Leo. This is what it is to be Leo. So when it comes to partnerships, right? This isn't going to happen for everybody because your first house is not in Leo. Your seventh house is in Leo. So this is only going to apply to partnerships. So when it comes to finding partnerships, this is not something you have to try to do. These come to you. These will come to you because of that attractiveness, that natural attractiveness for what you offer in all scenarios. I mean, publicly, privately, brand new people, uh, when you're traveling, all kind like you always have something, right? You always have something to offer to people. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to try, right? And because Leo is in the seventh house, this is where you need to start trusting the universe, bringing these things to you. For instance, your north node and your south node, these are meant to work together. So your north node being in Pisces in the first house, you are the daydreamer. You are that. And everything in your chart is trying to tell you that you're not. That's not true. You really are. You're the daydreamer. You're the one that knows how to think of really beautiful things for yourself, And when you're allowing yourself to daydream, when you're allowing yourself to really contemplate big, big dreams for yourself, you feel right with the world. This feels good to you. But then, here comes Capricorn to rain on our parade, blah, blah, blah. But it's the Virgo that tends to get in the way of that. Virgo knows exactly how to bring partnerships to you. Very methodical. We follow the formula. There's a formula for it. We follow. Well, Pisces said, "Nuh-uh. I dream of it and it comes to us." Why? Because of Leo. And the South Node wants to figure it out. The South Node wants to try to figure out how to create those partnerships. You can't. You don't do that. So this is the way in which sometimes you hinder your North Node because you think you know how to find partnerships, to form partnerships without any help. I don't need any help. I know how to do it. But the reason that the Leo is there is to help you understand, like, you have a natural attractiveness. You actually don't need to figure it out. Yes, you can, but you don't need to. You don't have to do that. You just need to get out of the way and let it happen. Because when action comes to you, when the universe is like, "Oh, hey, Trang, you know that thing you asked me for a couple months ago? It's time for you to go to," and you're already gone. It hasn't even said where to go. And you're like, "Yep, got my bag. Where are we going?" Right? You're ready to go. So the thing that's hard for you is the waiting, the listening, the being patient, allowing these things to come to you. You don't really understand that part, right? Because South Node is very good at making it happen, because that's what Virgo does. Virgo figures it out, does the research, and makes it happen. And of course, Capricorn is right on board with that. Yep, we like that. And then, of course, your other major sign, Mars, is also in Earth and is like, "Yep, we make it happen." So you see this? You have three very predominant signs that are trying to tell you that you have to figure out how to do it. But the signs in which are really meant to happen here for you is your North Node and your seventh house of Leo is really saying, no, 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 no. You're meant to just let it happen, but you have to think about it first. You have to contemplate it first, not try to figure out how to implement it. No, 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 no. Just decide what it is. What is it that you want, really? And don't be trying to feed the universe these small potatoes. When it comes to your traveling, you went real big with that and you got it, right? You can have that for everything else. You just have to be patient and you have to allow it rather than forcing it. And then, of course, you have the emotional piece here that's going to help you understand it on an even deeper level. Okay, so that brings us to the eighth house. And the eighth house is a very interesting house. This is, as they say, death and taxes are here, as well as the mystical and intuition. You have this in Libra, and there are no planets here. Thank God, because you have too much. You don't need anything in this house, really. Because if you had something in this house, I would be like, "Girl, what the hell were you thinking before you came here? Were you mad? Were you mad?" So thankfully, no, there aren't any planets here to make it any harder or more challenging. I'll say more challenging. And it's Libra. Okay. So Libra is so good at finding balance. So what are you able to find balance in? Anything to do with death, passing on, the underworld, the universe at large, God. You're very good at being able to have a very balanced belief system and approach to those things. You understand that we can't shy away from this, but we don't need to go overboard, right? There's a nice happy medium to this. And that's generally where reality is for most people, is in the balance. We're trying to find balance in everything. When they say taxes, this is like finances, as far as like investments are here too. So when it comes to investing, because it's Libra, you definitely would be able to have a balanced approach. However, making decisions is not going to be very easy for you here. You're going to really have, like, weigh the options over and over, almost ad nauseum. before you actually decide to invest in something. You may actually not have any investments at this point in your life yet. And likely because you either just don't know what to do or you don't know what's right for you, all of that good stuff. And it's not important. The way I see the rest of your chart, it's not really important for you to invest in anything. There aren't any planets in here that are trying to challenge you to do that. The other aspect of this is the intuitive, mystical realm. Again, a very balanced approach between being very logical and being mystical. So your ability to bridge let's say, bringing a daydream, an intuitive daydream, down into reality is going to be easier for you to do than others. If you're receiving a vision, being able to explain that in a beautiful way to help people understand what it means, you're going to be able to do that. Deciding how to approach those things, not the easiest though. What you tend to do along the lines of the mystical, whenever it comes to making a decision, which is always, it's going to be hard for you. It's going to be hard for you to decide. This is probably to do with your business as well. Trying to decide what direction to take with that. The reason it's so difficult is because that Libra's there. And Libra's like, we don't really have to choose, right? We can just do everything or nothing. I don't know. Or waiting for somebody else to do something about it or tell you what to do for that matter. What else is in the 8th house? I feel like you have so much intuition in your chart that you didn't really need to have a highly intuitive sign in the 8th house. Although you do have a little bit of Scorpio there, which is deeply intuitive too. Probably the most deeply intuitive of all the signs, as far as going deep, understanding the depths of what's possible. So when it comes to the universe and wanting to have an understanding of the energies of things, the mystical nature of things, you're gonna be more inclined to want to understand it on a deep level. But again, it is a little warring with this Libra placement. So sometimes you may feel like you want to go deep with somebody, but like, oh, is it okay? Is it okay if we do that? And then like, should I ask? Should I not ask? I don't know. I'll let them decide. I'll let them decide what we're gonna do. So you wait for that. Yeah. So any questions on the 8th house? Very quick, easy, simple,
No
straightforward.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now we come to the 9th house, my favorite. I love the 9th house. So do you. So we have this planet here. This is Pluto. So Pluto is in the 9th house in Scorpio. This is travel. This is higher learning. And that could even contribute to like higher learning as in spiritual learning, which again, we see a little bit of that here in the 8th house, like the desire to do that, which is then supported in the actual 9th house itself. So you might be more interested to learn about astrology and numerology and all of those other things to understand like more clinical understanding of the universe versus a mystical understanding of the universe, like what Pisces wants. So with Pluto here, this is where you are going to learn some very difficult lessons in your life when it comes to travel and higher learning. So when it comes to what you understand your role, humanity's role, it might be difficult for you as you start to learn these things as far as like understanding it, like really understanding it. I think sometimes it escapes you. It's like, I don't really know what you're trying to tell me here. And I feel like the confusion is very frustrating for you, but because the Scorpio is there, you're still willing to go. Like I'm going to go down this hole. I hope it's not too much further. And Scorpio's like, it's never ending. Thanks. Bye. So you're always going to be wanting to know more, go deeper. And in the sense of travel, oh, this is probably why you like to travel on your own as well. With Scorpios don't like to share. They don't like to have to, they like everything the way that they like everything for themselves. Um, and they don't want, like, I'll say it this way, Scorpios keep the weirdest secrets. Like, I'm not going to tell you about this cafe that I found in Chile because it's mine. Nobody's going to know about that. And it's like one little thing. But I'm never telling anybody. I'll tell everybody about everything else, but just not that one. And like, if people were to find out about that, like, this is an example, of course, they would be like, oh, you're keeping that a secret? Like, yeah, it's my cafe. And it's really nothing special. Like, it really is nothing. Like, I had a friend who was a Scorpio, and she did not like to let anybody know what kind of laundry detergent she used. She didn't want to share that. She's like, that one thing is for me, no one else. So sometimes you'll keep these like weird little secrets. And for you, it's around the universe, around the understanding of um, learning about the higher realms, but more importantly, around travel. Um, you have a little bit of Sagittarius there, which gives you that more mm, impulsive desire to, I'm going to wake up today and do whatever I want while you're traveling. If something falls through, it's all right. Something else is going to come in its place. That's fine. Let's see what else with this. Pluto is also the hard lessons. So I feel as though travel is a sanctuary for you. It's a place where you feel deeply connected, but it also feels at times strained in a way that you can't explain or uh, touch on. It's almost like that uh, the way that Pluto teaches is it sends you really difficult lessons, long-term difficult lessons, um, so that you can help yourself understand uh, what it is that you need to know. And because it's in Scorpio, Scorpio is very emotional, deeply emotional, um, and passionate, extremely passionate. So when it comes to higher learning, when it comes to travel, you're deeply passionate, but maybe a little bit nervous to share the completeness of that passion, to really help people understand exactly how important this is for you. And not everybody, certain people maybe. Like maybe you don't want to tell your family how important this is to you. Maybe you don't want to tell, a friend that you would never understand, kind of thing, you know? Um, and so Pluto is trying to get you to be more open with this, share it more, talk about it more, be open to um, including others with this as well, which I know that you want to do. I feel like you do want to do that, but it's like at the same time, like, this is for me though. So it's a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes you may have a challenge there. But I think it's a challenge that you really embrace and enjoy. I think a lot of the lessons that Pluto's trying to teach you in the ninth house specifically and with Scorpio, you're already embracing those. And so I also believe that the lessons that are being learned here, because they're so long term and there's so much in your chart that like, let's hurry up and get the work done. Let's hurry up and learn the lesson. Let's hurry up and figure it out. Pluto's like, nah, we're going to sit here for a second. We're going to feel it. We're going to contemplate. We're going to meditate. We're not going to talk too much about it. And you're like, no, 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 let's hurry up and do it. And Pluto's just like, no. Right. So when it comes to understanding the universe and feeling, I feel as though maybe when it comes to travel, you would like that to expand more, and not necessarily know how to create that for yourself. But Pluto's trying to teach you something. It feels as though, would you prefer to travel always?
You mean like for like years?
Yeah.
Um, Maybe months at a time, not years, because I've done that before and you get
Right.
burnt out.
Well, that's here. With Scorpio, I think you went hard on that, thinking to yourself, well, I could just live my life traveling, and then realize like, oh no, I can't. Um, because Scorpio does want normalcy, predictability, support, and stableness emotionally. So traveling all the time and becoming burnout, right? Uh, Scorpio is not going to want that, right? So this is a little bit of a lesson that Pluto's trying to teach you. How can we achieve that sense of freedom even when we're not physically traveling? How can we travel in our minds? How can we travel in our emotions, right? I think this is the way that Pluto's trying to teach you with this. You have the physical piece down pat, and now it's time to understand the non-physical piece of that travel. I even feel like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but maybe in a few years it won't. But I feel like this could be astral travel as well. Um, it requires a great deal of trust and vulnerability with the universe and with yourself to do that. But I do feel that there could be a calling on you to do that at some point, an interest in it as you progress uh, in your journey. With Pluto there, that's just something that I'm seeing. Uh, Wanting to be able to travel non-physically. But because of how logic heavy your chart is, it's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. How could I even do that? But I mean, the Pluto lesson is a very long-term one. It's lifelong sometimes. And you're very young. So if it doesn't make sense to you now, that's fine. It will. Eventually, this will make sense to you. And maybe not necessarily astral travel, essentially, but traveling between the ethereal realms or vibrations. There are infinite of those. And because you have Scorpio here, you could be someone who ends up finding new vibrational realms with different types of spirit guides that live there uh, and that kind of thing. So this is a potential for you. It's not necessary, but I just, with the curiosity that I see here, I feel like this is inevitable. So. And of course, the path that you're on, learning your intuition and all that. So not just channeling in a sense, but going to the places, conversing with these spirit guides or beings that live in these higher realms that most people don't go. Any questions on the ninth house? And then we come to the 10th house. I know this is one that you wanted to know about. I can feel it. This is the house of your career. So this isn't, the second house is your job. The 10th house is your career. And this is fully in Sagittarius, no planets here at all. So you're basically free to do whatever you want. The problem, though, that I see at times is that Sagittarius doesn't like to settle down. And so this is going to feel like a problem for you because you have so much Capricorn, because Capricorn is like the idea of doing the same job for 30 years and being so stable is so enticing. But this Sagittarius in the 10th house would literally die if that happened. No way, no how, can't do it. Sagittarius needs something new all the time. All the time is relative, of course. Um, but when you allow yourself to shift and change as you need to, you won't feel as worried to attach yourself to things. And of course, when you start to embrace your emotional side, excuse me, and your Pisces daydreaming, that is supported by your South Node details and how to form partnerships to get these things accomplished, that is going to be a highlight for your 10th house of your career. So going towards your North Node, meaning you can do anything, anything you want, anything that feels like you is correct. And the 10th house is going to make sure that that happens. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be an adventure. Sometimes you want it to be stable. Sometimes you want it to be less chaotic. The only reason that it doesn't feel stable and that it doesn't feel that it does feel chaotic is because you haven't quite learned the flow of your own waves just yet. You're right there. Like I said with everything else, you're like right there. You're like right in the middle of catching this. When it comes to your career with this Sagittarius here, entrepreneur all over it, 100%. I can't see you doing anything else, honestly. Like career at large, you need to be able to do exactly what you want to do whenever you want to do it. If you're restricted in any way, it's going to be a very difficult road towards success. Meaning, you could do it, you could force yourself to do it because this Capricorn will do that. But that's not what the 10th house says. The 10th house says that you need to surf the wave. But in order to surf the wave, you have to fall down a whole lot first. And you've been doing that, right? And that's why I say that you're right in the middle. You're starting to be able to stand on the board, maybe not fully ride the wave yet, but you're getting there. It's like you're starting to see the light of how all this can work, how all this can come together. And the daydreams of Pisces will happen. Yeah, very easy peasy, simple.
So for people with a chart where it shows like you were meant to do entrepreneurship, you're meant to do, or maybe like not if like you're meant to do, but maybe your soul is longing for to do its own thing.
Yeah, it's
And
easier.
so if they choose the, let's say the corporate stable job,
Mhm.
what do you tend to see? Like, do they just struggle for the rest of their life? Does the universe give them like really difficult bosses? Like,
Well, I think it would depend a lot on the other aspects of their chart. Let's take yours for instance as an example. Okay. Let's say you decided that instead of doing entrepreneurialism, you wanted to climb the corporate ladder. You chose a company, you stuck with them, you decided to be loyal. There's your first problem. Sagittarius has a huge problem with loyalty where it is misplaced or undeserved. We all know that corporations do not care about their employees for the most part. So, right away, right off the bat, Sagittarius has a huge problem with that, isn't going to be okay with that. But if you have already decided that this is what you're going to do, what is that for you that you're going to take a huge hit right here? You're going to feel so depressed, so anxious all the time. And likely what you would do, especially if you were not as enlightened as you are now, you would just attribute that to the stress of life, the stress of the job. When you want to climb that corporate ladder, these are the sacrifices that you have to make, right? You're going to try to justify it to yourself somehow. The other way in which, as a Sagittarius 10th house, you might try to help yourself is by forming co working relationships that make it feel less drudgery. So, again, this is another way in which you would sort of convince yourself this isn't that bad. I have great coworkers. We have fun all the time. You probably would be the first one to say, oh, let's go to happy hour. That kind of thing. If you're doing the corporate thing, all the while, right, your coworkers thinking that you're doing great with all this Capricorn, you would be highly successful, highly successful. You would be always happy with this Sagittarius, or at least wanting to seem that way. Your approach to everything would be a little bit different outside of the box. People might call you a rogue at work, and that's how you get so high up the ladder. Meanwhile, inside, you're dying. You're absolutely dying, and no one knows. These are the people who do that life and then one day end it all out of nowhere. These are the people who say, I never saw that coming. I thought my husband was happy. We had everything that we needed. He was climbing the corporate ladder. And then all of a sudden, one day, ended it all. Without a note, probably, because Sagittarius is like, nah, you don't get to know. Now, that's just talking about Sagittarius. If you have, I would say most fire placements in the 10th house wouldn't want to climb the corporate ladder, with the exception, well, I think an Aries might want to do it because of the ability to continue to start. They might shine as a manager because it's easy for them to start things and get other people to finish them. A Leo would probably like to climb the corporate ladder because of all of the recognition that they're getting, as long as they're getting recognition. In today's day and age, those things aren't happening as much. So these people might feel compelled to climb the corporate ladder, but be incapable of doing so because of the current political or capitalistic climate that we're in, and likely feel depressed on the inside. If this was in, not even Capricorn. I'm trying to think of what would be a good sign for this. Probably Virgo. Maybe Gemini. Cancer, maybe, depending on what it is. It would really depend on the rest of the chart too. But some people feel it's safer just to climb the corporate ladder, but inside it really isn't their truth. The only person that's going to know that is you. You're the only person that really knows if this is what you need to be doing or not. And when people do something out of obligation or pressure from society or family, that's always where the emotional and mental health take a huge hit. And as far as the universe is concerned, the thing that is of utmost importance is the balance of well-being between your body, mind, and spirit, your emotional well-being too. Sagittarius being in the 10th house for you, I feel like this is an advantage and a disadvantage at the same time. But I mean, that's your chart. Like that, everything in your chart is like such a huge advantage and such a huge disadvantage simultaneously. It's crazy. But I believe, like, the way that I'm reading this is that, like, you really are meant to bring things into balance, right? So if keeping that in mind, Sagittarius in the 10th house is advantageous in the way of being able to be more spontaneous. If an opportunity comes to you, right, the 7th house, opportunities, partnerships, comes to you, which will happen because of Leo, right? You're attractive. It shows up and you're looking at that and you're like, you will know immediately if this is something that is not just for you, not just successful. You can make anything successful. You have so much Capricorn, you could literally make anything successful. You could sell ice to somebody who lives in Alaska, 100%. You could do that. But why? Why are you doing that, right? And that's how we get the 10th house for you. The 10th house is Sagittarius, meaning it has to be fun. It has to be interesting. It has to be worthwhile. Why am I spending my time, effort, and energy doing this if I am not having a good time, right? So sometimes Capricorn doesn't care so much about the good time. And so that's where you have to bring that into balance. Sagittarius sometimes is too focused on having a good time and not practical enough to make things happen. So that this is, in this way, you kind of have to bring that balance. Whereas you're going to be very good at choosing things that will make you happy. You're very good at choosing career moves that will be enjoyable for you. Very good at that. But sometimes you keep yourself from a good opportunity because you don't immediately see the fun in it, or, and probably more often, you get these opportunities and you don't want to anchor yourself there because Sagittarius doesn't really like to commit as much. Okay. So sometimes committing to something more long term might be harder for you. But if it's something that's long term and you don't know it's long term at the front of it, you're just like, well, let's let it ride. Let's see what happens. And it just happens to become something long term. That's probably the best for you, because if somebody is like, okay, let's do some work together. Let's sign a 5-year contract. You're like, whoa, wait a second. 5 years? I don't even know you. Like, let's slow down, buy me dinner first, kind of thing. So in those ways, you might immediately be afraid to take something that actually would be a benefit to you. And there are ways for you to have fun in that if you just take a beat and think about it. So that's how I would see really any of these. So each house is a piece of your life, and some houses will transfer to other things too. So when it comes to the career, 10th house is Capricorn. That's the because if you go in order, right, you have Aries, Taurus, that's how they go. So the 10th house typically is represented by Capricorn. So let's look where your Capricorn is. Oh, it's in the 11th house. So this is a placement that's going to help support your career. And that's why these two things are so important to bring into balance, because they help each other or they hurt each other, depending on what it is that you're doing or you're trying to do. And dun, 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 11th house. We are finally here. Okay, so you have quite a few planets here. You have Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and that is, Venus as well. Wow. Okay, so this is a lot of very, very conflicting energies within planets. Some of these want to be more dreamy. Some of these want to be more practical. Some of these just want to be seen and loved. So when it comes to the public image, you're kind of fighting for a lot of different things that are happening within you. You want everything from the crowd. Your chart is set up in a way that you are meant to give all of those things to yourself. Your default is going to be to try to get them from large groups of people. If you were to do social media, I feel like you would be very successful at social media, with the exception of the fact that Saturn is here and Uranus is here. Neptune and Venus are probably would promote that, but the other two planets are sort of hindering that. So it's sort of like this weird push and pull when it comes to social media and being able to do that maybe consistently or feeling confident in doing it. I feel like it would be kind of hard, right? And I feel like sometimes that translates into groups of people too. Sometimes not knowing your role in the whole scheme of everything. You're kind of a little bit of everything. And so sometimes that makes it confusing as far as like what choices to make, how to move forward, how you're representing yourself at any given moment. Kind of depends on the audience. What group of people are you with right now? Sometimes will determine what part of yourself is coming forward. Are you helping people tear down the walls of shadow? Are you helping people boost their daydreams? You know, the fantasy that they're wanting. Are you helping other people find love or love themselves? These types of things, you do them all, and you're very successful at doing them when you do put your mind to it. However, Capricorn tends to be withdrawn in certain ways as well. You hedge your bets. You're not going to just go and be in any group. You're going to go and you're going to be in the right group. But what's the right group? Especially when it comes to social media, everything is so wide and vast, it's very difficult for you to understand where you really fit in. As opposed to a smaller group, like, for instance, dance. There's only so many groups to choose from. And it's easier for you to tell where you would easily fit in and comfortably for yourself. So I would say that you would really shine in large groups, but I don't know that you're as comfortable in really large groups. I think you're a little bit more comfortable in a smaller group, but still a group. It has to still be a group. When it comes to doing things one-on-one with a person, this is still here, right? It's still part of your community, but I feel as though you don't feel as confident working on your own with one person unless you already have formed some kind of relationship with that person in some way. Then you're fine. Then you're the therapist right away. What do you need? I got it. This is also why you're so good at organizing things and making sure that things are running without a hitch. It's the 11th house. The 11th house is actually in Sagittarius, but the planets inside are all in Capricorn. So Sagittarius wants you to be a little bit more fast and loose when it comes to the groups. But Capricorn wants you to be stable, well thought out, contemplative, and maybe even a little bit introverted, even still in a group, which is such an oxymoron, I feel like, because Sagittarius wants to shine. Sagittarius wants to be like, hey, everybody, I'm over here. Come on, the party's, this is where the party is. Come have party with me. But then as soon as it comes to, okay, I'm in charge of the party, this must be successful. Sagittarius, where are you at? Where'd you go? Gone completely. It is time to get down to business. We need to be serious about this. We need to make this work. And sometimes to the point where you're not having fun anymore. Like you suck the fun all out of it for yourself because you're so focused on making sure that the party you promised everyone figuratively is a worthwhile party. And I don't mean an actual party necessarily all the time, although if it is an actual party, my God, you will go above and beyond. You will do things that other people are like, wow, I never thought to do that. You're like, well, yeah, I thought about that like 3 weeks ago, and I've been thinking about it ever since. Making decisions on things is also going to be very difficult because you want to make sure it's going to be successful no matter what. With Saturn here, Saturn is trying to help you understand in a group setting, in the public eye, is this really what you want? Is this really what you want? Or are you just defaulting to everyone else? When it comes to showing love to others, you won't do it unless you know you're going to be successful. You will not show affection unless you know that it's going to hit. So if you're not sure, like, oh, I wrote this letter and I don't know if they're going to like it, they'll never see it. Never, ever see it. But your Saturn placement is like, yeah, but isn't that real though? That's like a real thing for you. And you want to give it to them, don't you? You're just a little afraid. It's fine. You won't know if you're going to be successful unless you try, right? And so the other placements there, Uranus and Neptune, are trying to be, they're like your hype man, like, yeah, do this, give them the letter, do it. That would be great. But at the same time, like, okay, you're like, okay, fine. If I'm going to give the letter, I need to make sure it's going to hit. So this is something that you would do. You probably rewrite it like 10 times before you actually gave it to the person. Revise, making sure that it's perfect. You do that with all experiences that you feel you're in charge of cultivating. And you take on responsibilities that don't belong to you. You'll be at an actual party that somebody else has thrown and say, oh, they're not doing a good enough job to make sure that people are having fun. So I am now going to take over and do that. But I'm going to make sure they don't know that I'm doing that. I don't want it to seem too obvious. So you'll go around, the Sagittarius aspect of this 11th house will go around and be like, are you having fun? And people are like, yeah, it's all right. Like, oh, well, wouldn't it be more fun if we did this or that here? And like, oh, yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? You're like, I knew it. So this is why a lot of people gravitate towards you in a group. If the group were polled, who is your favorite member of this group? Most people would probably say Trang. Trang's the mother. Trang makes sure we're all okay. She's got the snacks and she's got the umbrella. I don't even know where mine's at. It probably has a hole in it. You're the caretaker, right? But you have to watch burnout. There's so much here in this house that's trying to get you to choose yourself first and step outside of your comfort zone. So instead of playing it safe, Spirit is wanting you to be more vibrant, more of the life of the party, stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing things a little bit messier. It's okay if you don't know if it's going to succeed, it's still worthwhile. Even if you can't prove to yourself before you take a single step that it won't succeed or that it will succeed, it's still worthwhile. And what I see is that this is a lifelong lesson that is taught to you, unfortunately, in groups of people over and over again. This is not a lesson that you get to do all by yourself. This is a lesson that you get to do in front of basically everyone. And so there's a high level of embarrassment there when things don't go well, when things do sort of fall apart. You take full responsibility for it, even though not a single soul is even considering that or care, right? And this is what Saturn's trying to do, and all these other planets is like, you tried, and that's more than enough. So being able to really let that sink in, that trying is the success, not the outcome. The attempt to do anything is the success, not what happens as a result. All right, and last and final house here is,
Oh, actually,
well, oh
so
yes, go ahead.
you know how in this chart, the seventh house, over here represents like partnerships and stuff like that. But they say, or like, but Venus signs are also, people know that as, or at least I know that as, oh, that's how you are in relationships.
Right.
So,
So the Venus sign is how you love. And so the way in which you love is by performing successful, task-oriented things or creating an environment for someone where they don't have to perform tasks. I would say that a big love language for someone that has a Capricorn Venus, and for you especially, would be to do acts of service, 100%. And you're going to be doing that in the group setting. So performing acts of service for the group. And like I said, the group could be two or 100, doesn't matter. So when you're doing social media, your desire is going to be to like really explain these acts of service. The problem with this sometimes is that you just default into that and you completely skip over the emotional connection that most people are wanting to have, because doing the acts of service is way safer. There's little vulnerability in that. It makes sense. It's a good thing. Who would complain about me taking something off of their plate? If anything, they should be happy about that, right? It's a physical action that the way that I show my love, which is fantastic and great. But be mindful that you are defaulting into that or that you're only choosing that and sort of sidestepping that emotional connection that you are not only capable of, but is something that is a very deeply coded understanding to do. You're good at it. It's just that because your Venus is in Capricorn, you don't think you are. You have lied to yourself that like I'm not very good at emotional connection. It's only because you don't know where the emotional connection in the room with us. I don't even know what it is. Like what is that? What does it look like? What does it feel like? I I think I know that, but because you're not able to feel completely confident in that, you hesitate to do it. And if your partner were if your partner were to explain to you, hey, um, I feel like I feel like emotionally I'm missing that connection with you, then you would be like, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Like what can I do to help you feel like I'm emotionally connected with you? You would be at this stage, you would be willing to open up about that. younger Trang, maybe not. I think maybe younger Trang might be a little bit more dismissive of that. Um, but like I said, you're really embracing your moon sign and that fifth house, the deep understanding that you do actually have. This isn't something you need to find, it's something you need to let happen. That's it. And that's why you're confused, because you're looking for something when all you need to do is just allow. So when it comes to your 11th house Venus sign, you're also going to feel way more comfortable showing love to the group as opposed to a single individual. Overall, overall, because it's less vulnerable. It's a little bit more diluted. It could be the same level of love that you're giving to people, but because it's being spread over a bunch of people, there's less chance of blowback and getting hurt or rejected. Let's say you're showing love to a group of 5 people, one person rejects it, maybe inadvertently. You would then be able to say, oh, well, the 4 people really enjoyed what I did, so I'm just going to focus there. And I'm not going to worry about that last person. Although there's going to be something in the back of your mind that's like, what did I do that for? You know, and not really understand what happened. Maybe even be hesitant to have a conversation with that person about it to understand it more deeply. But the moon sign in the 5th house with Chiron is really going to make you not want to find out because it might hurt worse. But also at the same time, you do really need to know. So it's sort of like this war of wanting to understand versus allowing yourself to be vulnerable. So in the past, you have defaulted into not asking. Whereas I feel like now I don't know that you would do that as much.
Okay, cool. Makes sense.
Okay, and then the 12th house, the mysterious and weird, unknowable 12th house. So your sun sign is in Capricorn in the 29th degree. This means that you are very grounded in your sun sign. You know your sun sign through and through. This is a huge part of who you are, but it's in the 12th house, in the unconscious mind, the subconscious. So the ways in which you shine and feel secure as your whole person, when you don't meditate, when you don't go within, when you don't ask yourself those questions of what do I want, what do I think, what do I feel, you will feel very out of place, out of sorts, confused, generally, generally speaking. So you might be somebody that has a lot of questions, like a conversation in your head a lot of the time around things that you're looking to do or considering or just living life in general. But even still, coming away kind of confused about it. But like I said, when you really do dive in and you really do look into your own mind and your own heart about what you really do want, you will always succeed in it. But the problem with this is that Capricorn wants there to be a level of consistency, a level of stability within that. And that's not the 12th house. The 12th house is shifting sands. And so this is, I feel like your sun sign, when most people having a Capricorn sun would know exactly what to do to be successful in their life, yours being in the 12th house is kind of like, I think I know, but I also kind of don't know if I know, unless you meditate, unless you really contemplate it, unless you write it down. It's almost like if you write it down and you can see it in front of your face, you're constantly reinforced with it. But if you let it just be in your brain, there's still a question. So journaling, I feel like would be really important for you, especially. But when it comes to being successful, the Capricorn being in the 29th house, like I said, you're very knowledgeable about what creates success for you, generally speaking, in your life. It's just certain aspects of your life that you will question that. Excuse me. Yeah, Capricorn does not like being in the 12th house at all. This is like the worst house for Capricorn. Like, you mean to tell me there's no manual? You mean to tell me that nobody's going to tell me exactly what to do? Not even my spirit guides? They're not going to just like come and give me a scroll of all the things that I need to be doing? Because that's how it should be, right? Your Capricorn sun is like, this is how it should be. I should have a manual. I should have a list. Um, I should already know how to do all of this. Because your sun sign is in the 12th house, you're actually meant to learn how to be successful understanding the unconscious mind, the unconscious parts of yourself. What makes you suddenly emotional? What makes you have these inspired ideas? Where is that coming from? Right? These are things that are going to be more interesting for you because you want to have that stability in the unconscious, but you have to have the uncomfortable experience with it first, and embrace that and say, okay, I do know how to be successful, and it's okay that I don't know exactly what to do, but when I get there, I will. This is the other thing, is that in the 12th house with your sun sign in Capricorn, everyone else around you can see exactly how successful you are and your natural ability at it. You're the only one that can't see it. Like, you're the only one that doesn't know fully. Everyone else does. Right. And so like when you say things to people like, oh, I don't know if I'll be good at that. People are like, what are you even talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you're kidding, right? You're kidding about that right now. You're like, no, I really don't know. Um, when it comes to things that are the core understanding of yourself, the true who is Trang? Who really is Trang? You will not fully know that until you get down inside, until you understand your unconscious mind in some way. And I feel like this is a highly spiritual journey, having your sun sign in the 12th house. You would be very drawn to, again, understanding the universe. Having Pluto in the ninth house and your sun sign in the 12th house, to me, is wild. Because I feel like this is something where the draw and the desire to understand the universe at large is so strong for you, but then the implementation of that in your own personal life is like so wonky, like so hard. Like, it's so easy for me to see how other people can do it, and I can plot out their whole world for them. Oh, you want to know how to be successful in anything you do? I will tell you. I know how. You ask me about me? Sometimes I know, sometimes I don't know. And again, just like anything else, your younger years were worse. As you age, it becomes less confusing. You're going to embrace this more and feel confident in a sense, and not in the way of like being able to explain it. I think that's the worst part. When people are like, "Oh, Trang, what is success to you?" You're just like, I don't know. I'm not like in here and in here, you got it. You know what that is. But the minute that you try to explain it to someone else, it's like it just doesn't come out. Like, you want me to explain this to you? Never. That's never happening. Can't. Um, then in the 12th house, you also have Mercury. Whoo! And that is in Aquarius. So your Mercury is also in the 12th house. So your Sun and Mercury both being there, but in different signs, is very interesting. So Aquarius is a little bit more comfortable in the 12th house. Capricorn absolutely hates it, but Aquarius is like, I don't love it, but I'm okay. And this is like the way that your mind works. So you're able to reach for the meanings to things that are outside of the box in your mind. You're able to even logically understand the unconscious thoughts, usually of others, but even within yourself to a degree. But again, like trying to explain it, it's like never going to happen. Or at least not now. It feels like that because these are areas that are completely unknown to you, your sun sign and your Mercury sign. So how you think, the way you think, when you're trying to think of something, when you're trying to start a thought train, when you're trying to understand your daydreams and where that came from, could be very overwhelming to you, trying to ground all of those things into reality because these two signs want logic. And logic is not really a friend of the 12th house, at least not at first. The 12th house has logic to it, but not in the normal human way. It's sort of like in the universal way. So the logic of the universe, the mathematical equation to humankind, that stuff is going to make sense to you. But then translating that down into what does that mean for the human experience is going to be a lot harder for you, especially when it comes to your own journey. It's sort of like there's this quasi um, higher perspective understanding of what's required of you and how to live your life. But then when it comes to the physical, practical application of that, it's like you're just lost. So this is where the emotional aspect of you comes in because the core beliefs that you hold, the way your mind works, the thought processes that you're having, you're not going to do it that way. That's where you find the information. You're very good at finding the information. What do I need to do to be successful? You ground it emotionally. So the more you come in tune with your emotions, how you feel about things when these thoughts are happening in your mind, it almost feels like an ethereal cloud coming down. Oh, this is the claircognizance. How do you know what you know? I have no idea. It just got there. But having an emotional connection with those things or not is going to help you understand how to move forward on your journey. So when you get a download and you're thinking to yourself, is that real? Is that true for me? Is that something I should be doing? It will be confusing until you ask yourself, do I like that? Do I want that? Does that seem fun? Does that seem good? And sometimes you skip right past that because you're just trying to find out if it's going to be successful. Um, so the more that you connect with things emotionally and you allow yourself to trust that connection, the more success you'll have in understanding the downloads that you're having and the belief systems that you really do hold. Um, is that resonating for you? Is that hitting the mark?
I feel like with the 12th house, I'm like, okay, that's something I need to integrate in my life.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
but
I feel like it's
consciously, I don't know if I'm not say aware of it, but just there's other ones where I'm like, oh yeah, that totally resonates. Oh yeah, my friends would say that about me. This one's more
Mhm.
of like a, oh okay.
Yeah, well, it's the 12th house. Like the thing is like these are ways in which you're not always going to be consciously aware of what's happening because it is in the unconscious. So a lot of thoughts that you have are going to be in the unconscious. So for instance, what I was saying about the seventh house and how sometimes you're a little bit too picky about other people or how you operate in connections or forming connections. That's those are unconscious thoughts. That's your Aquarius Mercury just kind of running away because you noticed a detail. You're like, oh shoot, I forgot the person's name. And now Mercury is like spiraling out of control into a realm that you have no idea where it's going because it's in the unconscious. So the more that you become connected with your unconscious mind, the thought processes that are happening in the unconscious mind, the more power you're going to have in the physical world to create everything that you want. Where do your belief systems stem from? What are your core beliefs? What are you about yourself? What do you believe about yourself to be true? Um, I feel like in a conscious, in the conscious world, you tend to kind of default more into, well, I'm taking these actions and I'm doing these things and I'm providing this stuff. And you're saying that's who I am. And the Capricorn sun in the 12th house is saying, oh no, we're deeper than that. We're deeper than just the things that we're doing. There's core belief systems here. And so when you become attached to certain things, people, experiences, and the emotional piece latches on, you feel completely like a fish out of water because the place that that started is in the unconscious and you can't find it. So you feel completely overwhelmed by those things sometimes and fully at the other person's whim because I don't know where this begins. I also don't understand the emotional connection. So a lot of times you're going to avoid those things. You're going to try to avoid attachments. However, Capricorn really loves success. So anything in your life that has proven success, you will have that hardcore hooked in to your belief system. Where? I don't know. It's just there. I don't know how it got there. But if you really allowed yourself to like have a train of thought and think back, again, this is in the unconscious. So a lot of these things are going to come to you once you learn how to go within, quiet your mind, and allow for the unconscious thoughts and belief systems to rise to the surface. At this present moment, you're like, I don't even know how to do that. What you're saying, uh, it kind of isn't making sense to me, but I'll do it. Right? But that's the point, right? Your 12th house is so important. It's so important because these are your thought processes. So meaning like your train of thought, a normal train of thought in anybody else's brain. If they're looking to release themselves from an attachment, we'll say, let's say they're obsessed with a person, a guy, right? And they just can't get them out of their head. That's a practiced thought pattern in their head. It has created a groove in the physical brain, in the unconscious. Anybody that has their Mercury outside of the 12th house is going to be able to find it. They're going to look for it. They're going to backtrack and they're going to say, oh, that's where this begins. And they're going to be able to observe the thoughts that they're having that send them down that pathway that they no longer want to go. I don't want to think about this person anymore. I'm tired of being obsessed with this person. They don't want me anymore. Whatever the case is, I choose not to think about them anymore. So they're going to be able to watch themselves walk over to that thought process and start trying to slide down that pathway and say, no, 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 I don't want to do that. However, in your brain, that's not there. That is not there. You're like, I don't know why I'm attached to this. I just am. If you were able to follow a thought process back to how you got there, then you would be taking things in and out left and right. I think that this placement is here on purpose because of how much Capricorn you have. You would be like plugging in and unplugging all kinds of things all the time. You would not allow for anything to be there that's uncomfortable. So it's almost like your belief system and your thought process has to be in the unconscious. You're like, I had to do it. I'm sorry. It's got to be there. Um, so when you allow for yourself to meditate and get to that neutral place within your body, in your nervous system, and your mind is able to kind of quiet down, you have the opportunity to bridge yourself from the conscious mind into the unconscious mind. Then you will have access to those things. You will then be able to stare right at every single belief system that you have and choose whether or not it's going to be there. The same thing for your thought processes. This is also going to help you with your intuition, being able to understand, like, where did that download come from? Why is it there? What is the purpose of that? All of it is in the unconscious, which is not a bad thing. This is supporting your ninth house. with Pluto. It's harder for you because these are the lessons that you're supposed to learn. I feel like if these placements were not in the subconscious, you would never go there. You never, ever, ever go to your subconscious. It's almost like you wanted to force yourself to have to go there. Well, if I put my Mercury there and if I put my Sun there, I won't have a choice. I'll have to go. And that's kind of what this looks like to me. The other thing that's going to be a benefit from you doing that is your North Node. You're going to see that these daydreams that you have with Pisces are not frivolous. They're not pointless. They're not wasting your time. You're going to actually see them as practical because your sun sign is in the unconscious too. And Pisces typically is representative of the 12th house. So all of these things are working together to get you to a place where you fully and completely understand yourself. I believe that with the North Node in the first house, that's what you're meant to do. Your South Node being in the 7th house means that you're very good at understanding other people. But everything in your chart is literally like top heavy with trying to push you into figuring out who you are, what you think, what you want, outside of everything else, but including everything else, because you do have lots of empathy, because you do care about people, because you do care about your community. It's so important to you. You're automatically going to choose them. You're automatically going to bring them into all of this. That's why it's so important for you to focus on yourself, because you keep forgetting about it. You keep forgetting about yourself and defaulting into what can I do for everyone else? How can I provide for everyone else? Even in your career, you do the same thing. What do you want? What do you want to do in your career? What's fun for you? Whatever is fun for you, whatever feels satisfying for you, whatever feels healing for you is right. That's the right thing. And let yourself dream really big, because whatever it is that you dream about, all of these placements are here to help you create that in real life. Whatever it is that you dream up in your mind will happen to you 100%, as long as you get out of your own way. Like you literally, all you just get out of my own way. Okay. That's so much easier said than done. So much easier said than done. But again, for the umpteenth time, your spirit guides want me to explain to you that you're already on this road. You're already doing this. You're already going towards all of these things. You just have to continue to let it happen. You're already drawn there. Just don't fight it. Just don't fight it. That's it. So the next time that you start feeling your brain kind of drifting off into no man's land, just let it go. See what happens. The next time that you start feeling an emotion come up that feels a little bit too much or overwhelming, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, just let it go. Let it go where it wants to go. Watch it happen and feel it. The bad thing you think is going to happen isn't going to happen.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel it's funny because like with readings like this, I feel so seen and understood where there's things that, when sometimes you're like, is it my personality? Is it something, something? And you're trying to figure out, especially in my chart, it explains a lot of why I feel conflicted with a lot of things.
A
Like
lot.
a lot. It's very polarity.
Like,
It's like I want stability, but I want to have freedom and have fun out there and travel the world. But how am I going to do?
yeah,
And so, um, but I think it's
like,
different when you think, there's a lot going in my mind, but then you're like, oh, but there's this very chart here, and it just shows your kind of like genetic makeup of it makes sense. It makes total sense. So you see, there were some parts where I was just like got teary-eyed because I was like, oh, okay, yeah. It just feeling seen and understood by a chart. Like I feel like it's like a patient chart. And you're like, I get it now. I get myself, I understand myself a whole lot better. So
yeah.
wow, and thank you.
And I like being able to have the records open to not just tell you what it is, but more specifically why that's there and what it's trying to do. I think that's the piece to me that's a little bit almost more important, because anybody could tell you about your chart, but like why is your sun in the 12th house in Capricorn? What the hell was that about? Why did you do that? And now we understand it. It's on purpose for your gain. It's to make you do something that you would never have done otherwise, right? And so these placements that normally feel so restrictive and hard and horrible are actually there to create success for you when you want to create this life that you want to live. Um, and having so many placements in your chart that are at polar opposites, the eighth house, almost the center of your chart, being in Libra, and having that mystical understanding of how to achieve mind, body, spirit balance, I think is kind of like the glue holding everything together. It's like, yes, being sort of sucked into that one placement an experience that you're having, feeling that war inside of you is difficult. But then there's like this little tiny, tiny little voice that's like, yeah, but you know how to have balance about that. Just step back for a second, take a breath, bring yourself back to neutral, do a meditation, do a grounding. Okay, now let's think about it. You can have both. It's always both. It's never either or, right? And I think the biggest thing that I see in your chart, again, they're like, just so you know, disclaimer, this isn't as bad as you used to be with it. And when I say bad, you know what I mean. But you default to others rather than choosing yourself so much of the time. What will make others more comfortable? It's sort of like you sacrifice yourself for the group, the good of the many, instead of the good of the one. That's very Aquarian, super Aquarian. And you're really wanting to be of service to everybody in every way possible, but you have to apply that to yourself first, because you got to put your own mask on before you can help anybody else with theirs. The airplane thing. So, yeah, I think that your chart is very complicated, but I would not have expected anything less from you. Very interesting, very interesting. Oh, I had so much fun reading that. But at the same time, very advantageous. You have a high probability of practically and physically creating your dreams. The way your north node is that. It's literally that. The more you go towards allowing yourself to understand your true, the full breadth of your dream, and then just allowing everything else to create that for you, not trying to figure it out, not trying to figure out, oh, how am I going to accomplish this? How am I going to get this done on my own? But allowing the universe to help you, allowing your spirit guides to help you, allowing your own body to help you. You don't have to figure everything out. It's already there. It's already figured out for you. You just have to discover it. You just have to uncover what's already there. And sometimes that's going to be a lot easier said than done. But I'm telling you, once you get to a place where you are achieving a relative amount of balance, not even a complete understanding of that, just a relative amount, your success will be through the roof. You just have to be very honest with yourself about what you actually want, not just what's practical. That's really important. I saw that in your chart and in your Akashic records. When you default into practicality, it's almost like everything falls apart. It's like it turns into a house of cards and something blows it over. But when you allow yourself to focus on your dreams and look for the grounded application of that with the universe, you'll win every time. So what I would suggest for you to do now with all of this in light is to reflect in your life when you've allowed yourself to really dream big and gotten out of your own way to allow it to happen. And of course, don't look for something that happens smoothly, because this is a hot mess. It's always going to be a hot mess. It's never going to be pretty. Maybe eventually, but not right away. When did you let yourself really run away with your dream and then just let it happen? I would say travel probably is something where you can point to that very clearly and easily. All you have to do is apply that to everything else. Figure what was the sauce? What did you do there? How did that happen for you so largely? Huge. That's a huge accomplishment, right? But even in that, it's still messy. even in that, you're still trying to find practicality. You know, and the universe is like, Trang, stop trying to take the wheel. Give it to me. You know, let backseat drivers. No, no, no. You know, but you're just, the only thing is you're just trying to make sure that it happens without a hitch, but that's not possible, right? And when you really embrace that concept that I am overall going to succeed, but I'm going to have small failures along the way that are going to teach me. So they're not really failures. They're more like learning lessons to help me accomplish the big thing. I fail so that I can win. And when Capricorn understands that to really succeed, failure is inevitable, not just inevitable, but really important to have that, to be able to achieve the larger dreams that your Pisces North Node knows that you can accomplish. The minute that Capricorn really embraces that failure is just lessons, an opportunity to grow, nothing more. Everything that's been holding you back is going to fall away. Continuing to remind yourself of that, because you're going to be in the middle of something that feels like failure. You're going to have judgment. You're going to be kind of freaking out and panicking. And you may not be able to have that self-reflection until afterwards. But that's better than nothing. And over time, you're going to start getting better and better at recognizing it in the middle. And then eventually, when it first starts, then eventually before it even begins, and set yourself up to a point where you're like, it's okay. It's okay. We got this. It's going to be all right. The key to that is that emotional piece. Right now, your emotions have you in chains. You're basically a slave to how you feel because you don't understand it. You're worried about the pain. When you're not worried about the pain because you've embraced your emotional response in pain enough that it's no longer has a hold over you. If anything, now it's made you more powerful. You understand it to such a degree that you're now able to utilize it for power within yourself. And this is what your chart says to me overall. This is the ways in which you will succeed in your life. I feel like to a degree, that whole spiel feels overwhelming a little bit. But it's little chunks at a time. You're not trying to accomplish everything tomorrow. Capricorn might want to. But your soul, your higher self knows that this is your lifelong journey. If you figure it all out tomorrow, guess what happens? Trang's not here anymore. We don't really want that, right? We want to pace ourselves for this journey. We don't want to just hurry up and do everything. We want to let this linger so that we can really enjoy our lives fully. But I feel like there's a chunk that you're in right now of really understanding how all of these things work together that is dawning on you, now. There's a confusion and understanding commingled. Sometimes that's a little bit more frustrating. It's like, I almost know, but then I feel like I don't know at all. That is just proof that you're on your way. Pretty soon that confusion is going to be next to nothing and the clarity is going to take over. I'm very excited. I'm so happy that I was able to do this with you today because I feel like you're such an interesting person to know, and I can't wait to watch this all unfold for you. Like, what are you going to do?
So that was my reading. I really enjoyed the intuitive Akashic Records part because it's a nice addition to allow for deeper understanding, right? So I feel like with a typical astrology reading or any chart readings, you'll kind of see things being explained based on what is on the chart. The psychic intuitive part helps explain the why and the how, even if it's not a message we might want to hear sometimes, but again, it allows for a deeper understanding. So with that, I hope you enjoyed my reading, and I've included Carolyn's information down below in case you're interested in booking a reading with her. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.